welcome to the 399th episode of the Random Podcast from Heck. My name is Tony, and this is the podcast about random things in the world of entertainment, which includes movies, TV shows, and comic books. Big shout out to Andrew Loken. He is a huge supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the Secret Podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30 minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. I'm currently still looking at the John Byrne era Fantastic Four. It's hard. It's like, I don't know, should I continue? I'm enjoying it, but I will, obviously mix things up in a bit. At some point, we'll see. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 3. That's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. Also, if you want to purchase access or whatever you want to call it to one of the off of my mind secret podcast episodes, it's the same price as a virtual cup of coffee, so you can go there. Go to patreon.com/gmanfromheck, go to the shop tab, wherever that's located, and you can choose from there and support the show and all that stuff. What is going on this week? So we're approaching the 400th episode, which I have nothing, out of the ordinary plan for that. But I'm grateful that you are here and that you'll be here next week for that. The movie feature is going to be Sinners. So this debuted with a 100% Rotten Tomato score. So we'll see where it's at now, and we'll see what I thought of that. So that's a Michael B. Jordan, Hailee Steinfeld movie. We are going to have the final episode of season 1 of Daredevil Born Again. We're going to probably do another episode of Black Mirror. I don't know if we'll get through the whole season, but I love that show, and it's, so we can talk about that. We also have some debuts, some new shows that were kind of like last week, so they're kind of like on the borderline of when I publish and stuff like that. So we're a tiny bit behind. We got Doctor Who, they're calling it season 2. It's like, okay. And we have Last of Us. Last of Us is back, season 2 with that. And we got a little time jump there. So we got a lot to talk about. Let's get to the news with the end of Daredevil, which we'll talk about. So there's some big crazy stuff that happens in New York City. As part of Wilson Fisk. He's the mayor. He's got all these plans, and I guess people are asking. I'm not asking. I understand why it's not the best answer, but a lot of people are like, how come Spider-Man wasn't in the finale? It seems. There's two things. One, Tom Holland is probably really busy. And, who knows where they're at with the next Spider-Man movie and all that. But really what it comes down to, the unfortunate thing, it comes down to the legal rights, which is a bummer. Sony owns rights to Spider-Man. And yes, there's a whole Marvel movie where they have that joint, or they share things or whatever, and they both benefit from that. But as we heard with Kingpin, with Wilson Fisk, he is only allowed to be in TV programs. He can, like Disney Plus, like Daredevil. He and Hawkeye. He cannot be in the movies. So it was a couple weeks ago. They're like, Wilson Fisk is not going to be in the next Spider-Man movie because he can't legally. Now the same thing kind of goes with Spider-Man. Sony owns live action rights to Spider-Man. Would they ever do a live action TV show? I guess they could, but they probably won't. Now, Marvel can do animated Spider-Man TV shows, 30-minute animated. We've seen those. They can't have Spider-Man live action, which is a bummer. You can't even have him for 5 minutes or a cameo, because it would make sense. They've kind of alluded to him. I think they even mentioned Spider-Man, but they already said someone dressed as a spider or whatever. So no Spider-Man, even though this is where it would make sense if all this crazy stuff is happening in the city. Isn't Spider-Man there? Aren't there any other heroes in the city? And that's where the shared universe kind of falters a little bit, because you would expect something to happen, and no one is dealing with this except for Punisher and one other person, which I don't want to spoil that, even though the Disney Plus episode image landing page, whatever you want to call it, spoils it. Which, okay, that's how it goes. Maybe at some point, they'll work something out. But no Spider-Man and Daredevil. Invincible, now here's a bummer with Invincible. Season 3? I'm still behind in that. I think I don't even know if I finished the first episode of season 3. Partly, I'm going to blame Amazon dropping everything. Did they drop everything at once, or was it? There was at least 3 or something like that. Because I am not covering it on the show, it kind of goes on the back burner. So I haven't finished yet. I still haven't finished Reacher season 2. I think I'm on I think I just finished episode 5. So I think I have to see episode 6, and season 3 is already out. And I'm really enjoying that show. I don't have the time to watch all the stuff, so it's ridiculous. But with Invincible, good news for Invincible fans, and maybe I'll catch up by then, but they're already talking about season 4. It's on track. They're saying like an early 2026 release date. They're trying to make the wait between seasons smaller, so now that everything's on track. And we had the strikes that happened before that put a little kink in things, but they're looking at 2026. I guess Kirkman and whoever is associated, they're hoping for 11 seasons or more of Invincible. So that would be cool. I just need to get caught up. What about Darth Maul? Some Star Wars stuff happened. I don't know what, I've seen some Star Wars news, and I didn't really pay attention to where was this at. I don't think it was a celebration. They wouldn't do celebration in April, but somewhere they were talking about some Star Wars stuff. And one of the things they talk about is there's going to be a Darth Maul TV show. It's going to be an animated show. When I first saw just the logo, I'm like, wait, is this a live action show? That would be cool. But I guess maybe it's easier to do animated. I don't know. So Sam Witwer, right? That's his name. He's voiced Darth Maul in a bunch of stuff, Clone Wars, and probably I think he was in Rebels and everything. So he's going to be voicing Darth Maul. And so the show, what is the show called? Star Wars. It's like a kind of awkward title. Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord. So are they just going to kind of call it Maul Shadow Lord, or it's just, I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. I guess it's supposed to take place about a year after the Clone Wars, which is kind of weird because we've seen Maul in Rebels, which is after Clone Wars. And I was, when I first saw this, I was like, are they going to deal with what was teased, spoiler, in Solo? And I'm still bummed that we never got a Solo Part 2, a sequel to the Solo, the young Han Solo movies. What's his name? I forget who played Han Solo. But I enjoyed that movie, and I probably should watch it again. But I at first I was like, you can't get someone other than Harrison Ford to play. But he won me over, and I would have liked to have seen more. And there was a tease, there was a Darth Maul connection, and we haven't seen really anything with that. So we'll have to wait. Maul Shadow Lord is supposed to be coming out in 2026, so we have that to look forward to. There's also some Star Wars news about Sean Levy's Star Wars project. So Star Wars Starfighter, that is the movie with Ryan Gosling, and it's I guess it's supposed to take place 5 years after The Rise of Skywalker, and it's supposed to be a new adventure. It's going to be all new characters, so there is no connection to anything. There's no Skywalkers. There's no here's Han Solo's great nephew or Chewbacca's whatever, neighbor's dog walker or whatever. So it's going to be all new characters, which is fine because we're talking about a whole friggin' galaxy. So not everything has to be about the Skywalkers or Solos or Darth Vader, or that doesn't have to be everything. I mean, if it's Starfighter, I'm assuming maybe they're involved. I don't know. We'll have to see. I associate Starfighters with the pre-clones or the clone era. What do you call that? The prequel era. But we'll have to see. So yeah, Ryan Gosling's going to be in there. They're looking at May 28th, 2027 to release. So that's 2 years from now, which is a bummer. but they got to make it and fly out there, and it's travel takes a while and all that. But apparently, I haven't heard about this. Apparently, Mikey Madison turned down a role in the movie. So that's a bummer. The reason she turned down a role was apparently, and I don't know when she turned down the role. Was this just fairly recent? Was this like 4 months ago? I mean, I don't know. But apparently, what was reported that she turned down a role in a movie because they couldn't agree on money, on the salary. Here's where I'm kind of wondering if this is a recent thing. So now she is an Oscar-winning actress. I'm assuming that means her payday has increased. Good for her, bravo. She won an Oscar. But I guess my thing. I talked about Anora. It was a good movie. Great performances across the board and everyone. I wasn't blown away like this is the best movie of the year. And again, I joke about like Deadpool and Wolverine being one of my favorite movies. I would never say that's like one of the best movies of the year. It was, to me, it was entertaining, and that's what I loved about it. I enjoyed it. But Anora, I'm still after all this time, it's been not all this time, but it's been a while since I watched it. I didn't watch it in the beginning when it first came out, but I don't know. I still don't know why, and this is why I never watch the Oscars anymore. I don't know, what is their criteria for that? I'm not trying to belittle at all anyone's involvement in the movie, but it's just to say that this is the best movie of the year. I don't know. I mean, I don't agree, and I don't have to agree, but it just seems weird. Like what I said when I discussed it a couple weeks ago. It's kind of like Pretty Woman Deluxe, or whatever. It's like amplified Pretty Woman movie, and I don't know. So I'm wondering if now, and I hope not, because I did see her on the Graham Norton show, the British talk show, and this was when she had been nominated and everything, and she seemed very down to earth. So I'm hoping it's not a matter like, oh, I got an Oscar, so I should, my salary should be double or triple or whatever. And hopefully, maybe it's a matter of, okay, we're going to make this Star Wars movie, and it's going to cost a lot of money to film on location and all that, etc. Buy all these ships and update, whatever, you know what I'm saying. But, maybe they're like, okay, this is our budget, and this is what we've allotted to pay for this role. And she's like, yeah, I made more for that probably not an hour, but whatever. And maybe there's just no room. And so Disney, Lucas, they could have, Lucasfilm, whatever, they could have said, okay, yeah, you're right. You got more prestige now. We should pay you. You deserve to be paid more. But maybe they're looking at it as, well, the role, you're only going to be in a movie for 20 minutes or something like that. So it doesn't make sense to pay your full salary when you're not going to be, I'm hoping it's something like that where, yeah, I don't know, but okay. So we have that to look forward to. I like Ryan Gosling, and I will say this again, I haven't said it in a while. I enjoyed The Fall Guy. It was a fun movie, and I'm bummed that it didn't do well. So speaking of Daredevil season 2, the showrunner said that they're already talking about when season 2 is coming. They're saying, they've already started on it. They got, I guess, working on scripts and everything like that. They're talking about March 2026. They're saying, so it's going to be a year. Okay, that's cool. It stinks it's a whole year, but at least that's not going to be 2 years or 3 years. It's still crazy when you think about it. It's like when we watch regular TV, we used to get, right now, Daredevil was 9 episodes. We got lucky that we got 9, and we didn't just get 6 or 8. It's like 6 or 8 seems to be the norm. So we got 9. Okay, that's good. But remember, it wasn't that long ago, we used to get 24 episode seasons. And it would be every year. The seasons would start September, October, and be spread out to May. And then, so May you'd get the season finale, but then you just had to wait till, next September, 5 months, whatever later. 5, right? Is that right? 5? No, not even 5 months. 3, 4 months. But obviously those shows didn't have the quality, like the movie quality that some of the current streaming stuff have. But yeah, it's a bummer that we have to wait so long. There was a new trailer for Fantastic Four First Steps, and at this is usually the point where I'm like, I'm not going to watch it. I did watch it, and I don't know. I didn't try to read any info or whatever. I don't know if I'm assuming this is a trailer that was seen recently at, where was it shown? It wasn't WonderCon, was it? Was it? Maybe it was. But we recently had the trailer that came out. I don't think it was, whatever. So we do see like Silver Surfer, what's her name is Silver Surfer, and like the hint of Galactus, and you just get a sense. I like this trailer, even though I feel like we're getting closer to the spoilery area, but it was nice because you get a sense for, you see like the team has been established, and we see like people being thankful for the team. They applaud the team. And that's just refreshing to see, especially after like Daredevil, where they're like anti-vigilante, which is just so stupid. But we have people embracing the team, and then it's like, oh crap, all this happiness, this good times, is going to get ruined because here comes freaking Galactus about to eat everything. And so you can see like this, it's a kind of heavy duty in a way. So I like that, and we do see Mr. Fantastic using his ability a little bit more. So, and I couldn't tell with the Thing's voice, like, did they tweak that anymore? Did they make it a little lower or no? Because, yeah, I feel like it should be. No, I'm not the only one. Hailee Steinfeld, who obviously is in Sinners, she said, kind of gave an update on Beyond the Spider-Verse, has started recording her lines, her dialogue, or whatever. That's progress. We're getting closer. I always wonder how they do that. How much like of the animation aspect has been done yet? Have they started? I'm assuming they've been animating stuff. And then so what do they do? Do they wait until? Did they start the? I mean, how do they sync up the mouths with the dialogue? Because if I'm going to say I went to the store to buy a loaf of bread, or I went to the store and bought a loaf of bread, there's different ways you would deliver a line, and your inflection and your delivery, all that stuff. So they'd want to match it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but do they do the outside animation and then animate the mouths to go with that, or just like tweak things? And I don't know how it works, because it's not like the old days where you have to do all the animation cells one by one. So I don't know. These are the things I think about sometimes. Comic book news. I don't even know if I should talk about this. There was a teaser for another X-Men event, and I'm saying these Marvel events, I hate to say it, the comic events aren't blowing me away, but there's gonna be something like After Apocalypse, and we got Doug Ramsey, amped up Doug Ramsey or whatever. But I think what they're saying is, I don't know if there's, I'm trying to think if my press release had any info on it, but I guess they're saying that Apocalypse and Saba Noor, he's going to be calling himself Revelation. Is that right? He's no longer Apocalypse. He's now Revelation. That is such a stupid name. I'm sorry. I don't know if Jed McKay came up with that. I don't know if Marvel editors came up with that. I don't know. But I guess it's better than that Omega sign or whatever he was calling himself. Oh, what is going on with comics? Should I stop covering comics? No, I don't want to stop covering comics, but sometimes I was just like, what is going on? And I don't know, is it just me, or is it like the state of comics? Because we got some really cool comics, but there's just so many comics, I'm just like, wow, that did nothing for me. But the last bit of news, I believe, apparently I haven't seen any of this, but a lot of people were like, first look at Lobo. Lobo's been revealed. And Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, is that what it's called? And it was fake. Someone had created images of Lobo using AI, using GPT, and they're like, "Yeah, this is what I did. Here's a command I gave." And so the funny thing is, apparently, I don't, like I said, I missed it, but apparently people were reporting on it, and then it's like, "Nope, you were wrong. That's not real." So this is why people shouldn't be posting, but I'm guilty of it too. I bring up these rumors that I see outlets of people talking about, but yeah, I mean, there's one thing about being excited, but it's like, come on, man, what's real and what's not. What I do know is real is that we got more podcasts, but that is going to be the news for the week. All right, with comics, we had Gotcha Man. Was it One Earth? I always forget the name of it. I don't have it in front of me. And I think it was issue 3 that came out. Let's see, Gotcha Man, Only One Earth. So this is Tommy Lee Edwards, and Nuno Plati does the art. Now, one of the things that's weird, when I was looking at this, I was like, man, it looks a little different. And I'm pretty sure Nuno Plati has been doing the art. I don't know if it was a color that changed, because I think this issue might have had 2 different colorists, but there was this kind of like nice kind of finish. It kind of, I totally cannot even describe it, but it kind of made it look a little retro in a way. It had, it was kind of like a softer touch. And, like if you look at like sometime the way they've recolored some stuff like on a Marvel app, it's just like, it's so bright, and it feels like kind of artificial in a way. It's just like they just slapped the color on there versus, trying to like shade or blend or whatever. But it just, I feel like the art in here just, and the colors just really kind of took a step forward. So I really liked it. Now what's going on here, this is the one where we have Ken and Joe. They've gone to this, they're in this other country. They're trying to protect this queen. They're sort of undercover. And then Galactor, they kind of attacked. And so they're underground, and there's like all the stuff about hieroglyphics and stuff like that. And we got mechs, and it's just kind of this crazy adventure. And, I'm so thankful that we have these comics. It's just fun. And I keep saying, man, I need to go back and watch more of the Gotchaman, original Gotchaman anime, but it's one of those matter of time. Maybe I should do that. Like, we'll see when I'm done recording what the time is. Also, we had at Dynamite, there was Thundercats, and we'll see what number was that this week. When did Thundercats come out? And like Previews World is all messed up. I'm like trying to look up stuff here. It's not listed, but then I do another search specific, then it comes up. So Thundercats 14 came out this week, right? Yeah, because it's the last week was the 16th. I'm not crazy, and I just read it. Here's the thing. I keep missing comics. I keep forgetting. So I was like, I need to get caught up. I don't have time to go back. I don't even know which issues I've read and which issues I haven't read. So I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to read issue 14 so I can talk about it. So reading it, I was a little confused about some things. Lionel is missing. The last time I saw, Lionel went to confront Mumra. So I think he actually went to like the pyramid thing. So something must happen. Lionel has been missing. The Eye of Thundera is also missing. But now what's going on is Mumra decides to attack. So he attacks, the Thundercats and everything, their lair. And then I don't know if it's a spoiler, but we have the return of Calica. So she was that new Thundercat that came that it's like she betrayed the team. Did she? Because what is her story? And in previous issues, we've kind of seen some like the motive for her for taking like the busted sword and like what's going on. Now, what happens here, one thing I will say is, so Mumra, I'm trying to remember what his deal is. Because, I watched the show when it first came out. So, I was a kid. And I haven't really kept up with it. I don't recall what exactly Mumra's powers are. He's often shriveled up, he's like, oh, like a mummy. Then he gets these big bursts of power, and he's like, oh, like muscle bound and everything like that. And I'm trying to remember if like he has any magic, or is he just strong? There's like some supernatural ability, right? There's something he can do. When he attacks them, he's going like toe to toe with Panthro, and he ends up like kind of like beating the crap out of him. And at first I'm reading, I was like, and then the other Thundercats are coming, and he's like fighting them, and I'm like, is this like a non-reality? Like, is this like a fake future that we're seeing him like decimate the team, and like, you know, I'm going to destroy your home and stuff like that? And it's like, no, don't do that, because they just spent, you know, 13 issues, you know, working on it or whatever. And yeah, so it's like weird seeing Mumra like fighting like this, and then like, what's her name? Not Chitara. Yeah, Chitara. You know, she's coming to, and Tigra, and so this is another book. It's you know, it's fun to have just this nostalgia stuff. So those are the other books I've read at Image Comics, and by other books by not Image, Marvel, or DC. At Image, we had another G.I. Joe Real American Hero Silent Mission book. And it's the same thing. This one, did I like this one better than the Jinx one? Well, this one has Spirit. And no offense to anyone, but, you know, Spirit was never my favorite Joe. Same thing like Beachhead. He wasn't my, you know, one of my favorites. So, you know, I would put Beachhead and Spirit kind of on the same level. I feel almost like I'm a little more familiar with Spirit. I feel like Spirit's had more of a spotlight in, you know, the later cartoon episodes. But it's like, okay, you got this dude. What's his ability? Is he a tracker? You know, that's not cliche, whatever. You know, and he hangs out with this eagle. He's got this eagle that will, you know, fly on his arm. Like, okay. He shoots rifles, like assault rifles. Like, what? So we got Spirit. And this was okay story. What made it good or better, again, and what I mean by that is because I don't, it's not that I don't dislike Spirit, I don't care about Spirit. So, but what pushed this over the top to liking this issue is that Leonardo Romero did it. He did the art, and you know, I guess he wrote this, you know, wrote the quote unquote story, the plot, I guess you would say. Is that, am I insulting by saying story? There is a story. Obviously, you have you don't have a script, but you have layouts. You know what I'm saying? So I love Leonardo Romero's art, and it's just that made it worth looking at. I don't know. What else do we have? We had Redcoats number 11. This was an interesting issue because we got this guy, I forget his name, the Northerner. And I don't want to give anything away about him, but there's definitely something more to him than just a dude from the North. And I don't know what's been revealed. I'm trying to think what the cover looked like. But I will say, like, when you first see him, it's like, wait, where did he get those guns from? Those aren't like regular guns from that era. So there's definitely something going on. And this is what fascinates me about Redcoat. Because, you know, if you think about it, at its heart, we're talking about old-timey stuff, right? You got a guy from the Revolutionary times who basically becomes immortal. And it's like, okay, so we're talking like pre-1776 era character. And you know me, I'm not a fan of the old-timey stuff, but I'm enjoying this. And we've seen some, you know, he had an adventure with young Albert Einstein, and you know, I don't want to spoil anything else in case you haven't read any of those. Then we had like a story with Johnny Appleseed, and then we got this Northerner. So there's like all this like weird, and there's like some mysticism stuff or whatever. So it's a really cool book. I think, you know, there's just like so much like weird stuff that it's not like here's a book from this time period. You know, there's definitely more to it. All right, we also had Walking Dead Deluxe. Man, I'm doing it again. It is happening again. I'm falling behind. This issue 111 came out. I don't even know what the last issue. I need to get caught up on Walking Dead because I'm enjoying reading those again because I know I've read. I think I've read all these issues, but at some point there we get to the point where I really fell behind. And this like the color is cool. At Marvel, we had Cable, Love and Chrome, and this was fine. I was enjoying the series when it first came out, but it's David Pepose and Mike Henderson, so that's what's making it. If someone else was writing it, someone else was drawing it, I probably would have given up on this by now. But because like Cable stories, I can kind of like take or leave depending on what's going on. So here, where I'm assuming it's like in the future there's something, and just the stuff that he's dealing with in this fight. Now, there was an interesting twist at the end of this. I guess what I'll say to spoil there's someone that the Cables had a run-in with in this series. Someone that like really has a beef to pick or a bone to pick with him. So we kind of find out why they have a bone to pick. Like, what is the deal with this character? So I was like, okay, that's weird. That was unexpected. We have that. Daredevil Unleash Hell #4. So this is the Elektra Daredevil series. That's a weird cover. I don't think I noticed that Ghost Rider was on the cover, but I guess it's supposed to be Elektra like on the back of his bike, like holding on to him and about to and they're headed for Muse, the new Muse. I'm not digging this. I'm trying to remember like the original Muse story. Obviously we had Muse in Daredevil Born Again, but I'm just like, what's going on now with me? Muse is dead, and then he's like possessing people or turning them, and yeah, it's just okay, whatever. I'm not really enjoying that. And basically now Elektra's in hell, and yeah, so she's fighting like her dark essence. It's like whatever. Exceptional X-Men. Look who's on the cover. It's freaking Mr. I'm looking at this. Did I finish? I must have finished reading this, but this was I just didn't care for this. Yeah, wait. I don't think did I finish? No, I think I did finish reading this. I don't even. That's the thing. I'm looking at the last page now. I remember that last page, like that last panel, but some of the other pages, I kind of feel like I didn't read this. But man, I do not care for Mr. Sinister. Once upon a time, Mr. Sinister was kind of cool, but I don't know if it's since like all the Krakoa stuff. It's just I don't even care what he's up to. Like trying to catalog people and like what is he even doing? It's like I don't care what he's doing. Just go away. I thought we were done with him, but apparently not. And then I don't want to give anything away. Like who he tricked someone, and we had Godzilla versus Hulk #1. I kind of like flipping through this, and it was just okay. It was fine. I got nothing more to say to that. Insurgent Iron Man #7. Ugh. I started reading this, and I'm just like, I couldn't even like, and this is like my problem. Like I couldn't even like focus on it. I'm just like, I don't care for this one world under Doom stuff, which I've kind of been a fan of Dr. Doom. I think, even though he's a little whiny, he's a little silly sometimes, but there's something kind of cool about him as well. This is a guy that went toe to toe with the Beyonder in Secret Wars. So, but like now it's like I don't even care. It's like he stole where he bamboozled his way to become the Sorcerer Supreme. And it's like, why? What are you going to do with that? Like, what are you doing? And trying to manipulate the world, and so it's just, I don't even care. We had Power Man Timeless. I haven't been reading that. I'm wondering like who's reading that. It's like people are enjoying that. Spectacular Spider-Man #14. I can't. I've not been happy with the series. It's as hard as it's like, wait, I'm not reading a Spider-Man and a Miles Morales comic. How can that be? I feel like I can't bring myself to it because I'm just not enjoying it. And I don't know if it's gotten better or if it's the same. There's another Legacy of Vader. I'm curious to read those. Like, I don't know. I kind of dismissed it. It's like, oh, Kylo Ren, what does that mean? What's he going to do? And there's going to be nothing. But it's Charles Soule's writing it, and Luke Ross does art. Maybe there's something more. So I should check those out. Superior Avengers, number 1. I couldn't get into this. Another One World Under Doom, and we have Kristoff. If you look on the cover, he's kind of like leading this team, and then he's has these other his other teammates. We got like the woman, Dr. Octopus, Malekith. Is this a new Killmonger? And I'm trying to see who else is there. Ghost, Onslaught. It's like, who's Onslaught? I'm trying to think who that is. Abomination. That doesn't look like Abomination. So yeah, it didn't really do it for me. Ultimate Wolverine, I don't even know if I read issue 3, but I was like, okay, maybe I'll see what's going on here. I'm not totally sure what's going on. There was kind of like a reveal of another character, another X-Men character. We see their state, they're someone connected to Wolverine that's kind of being used, and they're not in the best shape. So yeah, I don't know if I care. It's so hard. Web of Venom verse. And I was like, I can't read this because this is one of those. There's like four stories or something like that, and yeah, I didn't check that out. Wolverine 400, or Wolverine number 8, whatever you want to call this. This, I made a mistake, and this is what's crazy, that I'm not committed to a Wolverine comics that's never happened. So the main story is dealing with the adamantine character, and I haven't been reading any of that, and it doesn't look like I missed a whole lot. So apparently this adamantine essence or spirit, whatever, I think it bonded with Romulus and kind of took over, and Wolverine's, how do you fight someone who's made of adamant? I don't even understand what is going, that doesn't seem possible, whatever. We have that, and then the second story, I don't even remember what the second story, wait, what is it? This Is Your Life, and is it time for Wolverine to take a hiatus? We have X Factor number 9. Angels, I feel like I missed something with Angel. Angel seems a little off, and this is really about Havoc, and yeah, so Havoc's no longer in X Factor, but he is approached because they're like, hey, we could use you to do this unofficial mission type of thing, and there's the threat of Lorna's in danger and stuff like that. But this was okay. But, the way Mark Russell does the characterization, and there's some kind of goofy stuff sometimes, or hints of goofiness, and so that just adds a different layer or element to the characters that I enjoy. So that's what makes it worth it. And the fact that we've got who are some of these characters? These new characters, and they're kind of lame. They're supposed to be lame, and that's what makes it interesting that we have this book centered around them. Over at DC, we had Nightwing 125. This kind of threw me off because I start reading it, and it's Francesco Francavilla artwork, and there's something about his art and the colors. It kind of takes you away into just this self-contained world or whatever. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, wait, what's going on? Is this continuing from? And then I'm getting to the point. It's wait, what happened last time? And there's so many issues where I'm reading it. Because they're Wonder Woman this week, I was like, did I read? I must have read the last issue. I know I did because it hasn't been 2 months. So with Nightwing, it's just it's kind of like a new story arc. We still have the elements of that, what you would call it, that company that's helping, or the police force, and some people are abusing their powers and stuff like that. So you still have an element of that. But there's this other issue that the police department is dealing with, and Maggie Sword, Nightwing's talking to her, and she's, no one trusts Nightwing because of with his involvement with the gang stuff, trying to keep the peace, but it kind of looks like he's working against this police force, and so there's some interesting things here. Absolute Flash number 2. I'm having a hard time with this, and so we definitely have some weird things going on. It's like, what is going on with Wally West? One of the things that I wasn't super crazy, it's like, are these people, does he just not have a secret identity? Because it looks like people are like know who he is or whatever. It's just weird. So Jeff Lemire, he's taking things on a different level, which is, that's what these books are supposed to be about. You were not just retelling, who is Batman, who is Green Lantern, who is whoever. So it's the core of the characters, but has a different spin to it in a sense. So that's the thing, is like trying to figure out, it's like, what is going on with Wally, and with the way the first issue ended, like what it said about Barry. It's like, wait, what is happening here? And so there's a little bit of confusion. I mean, I was a little bit of confusion for me, because I was probably reading this comic faster than I should have been, because I'm trying to read everything so I could record the podcast. And the DC books are always the last books that I read, because those are the last books that I get. So that's why I don't always read everything. So yeah, trying to keep up with, and I was like, wait, what's happening here? So I'm curious, but I think what it comes down to, and I do hope people are enjoying these absolute books, and I know some people are. I think a lot of people are. For me, it's just hard, and again, the stupid selfish aspect for me, it's like, okay, I'm having a hard time reading all these books as it is. Now we're starting to get all these different absolute Batman, absolute Superman, absolute Wonder Woman, absolute Green Lantern, absolute Martian Manhunter, absolute Flash. It's like we're basically soon. It's like DC is going to have double their books, because they're going to have their regular books, and they're going to have everyone absolute everyone, absolute this, absolute Jimmy Olsen. It's like, what is happening here? What's weird, because when you look at like the Ultimate books, I'm pretty sure, and I don't want to sit here and think and try to count, but I feel like there are more absolute books than there are Ultimate books, and that's just weird, considering that Ultimate Spider-Man's, I think it's been out way longer than like Ultimate Batman. So it's just like, slow down. But if people want this, okay, give them what they want. It's not what I want. Detective Comics 1096. So this kind of wraps up a lot of the recent stuff, like what's going on, with this. Are you caught up on this? This is a point where it's like, I don't want to spoil like this story arc in case you're waiting for the trade, but we had this new female character that came in, someone that Bruce Wayne knew from his childhood, and then there's like a bigger element of the character. Okay, I mean, this is a spoiler. She's Joe Chill's daughter. I don't think have I mentioned that with any other issues? But the thing is, like, she didn't know she's Joe Chill's daughter, and I'm trying to remember if Batman knew. But so we and then there's the company that she's working for, and there's like all this stuff happening on, and then who is this person that's targeting like child like criminals? People like pickpockets, kids living on the streets or whatever, and yeah, so there's just like a lot that's laid out here, and it's like, how does things connect to like Thomas and Martha, like their past, and so yes, definitely some interesting things here. Batman, Superman, World's Finest. I forget what issue came out. This is a part one of a crossover with Justice League Unlimited. I didn't love this issue, so this is kind of like flashback story, but then probably the main reason I like it, Gorilla Grodd shows up. I'm like, oh, they go to like Gorilla City, and yeah, it's just I didn't love it. We have Summer of Superman special, because Friday was Superman Day. Is that when it is? And with this was I think it was like I could be wrong. I'm thinking it was like a 40-page comic, 40-something. And there's kind of like 3 parts in the epilogue. Like the first part, if I remember correctly, was written by Mark Waid. The second part was written by Dan Slott, and the third part was written by Joshua Williamson. So we got some quality writers here, and then there's a lot of good art and all that. So what this kind of the main focus of this is, we see like the first part kind of goes into the past. One of the things, so here's one thing I will say, and because we know they're kind of retconning their insert, whatever you want to call it, where we're getting the return of Superboy, where Superboy now exists. Clark Kent was Superboy in Smallville. I think that's kind of crazy, because how do you explain that Superboy and Clark Kent lived in the same place, and then when he comes to Metropolis, it's Lois Lane is the first one to interact with Superman, and Clark knew nothing about him, but he lived in this small town, this Smallville, with this, So I just feel like that's too close to home to do that. But whatever, they've done it in the past, they can do it again. But the other, so we see like some elements. There's like a flashback story. So there's something with with Clark and Lana, and there's something I'm trying to think about. It's like, did they just change something about Clark and Lana? And if they did, which I'm pretty sure they did, I don't like that. But the reason there's a past with Lana is because Lana and John Henry Irons are supposed to be getting married. So they've been dating for a while. I don't know how I feel about them as a couple, because we've seen them. Maybe it's just because I'm trying to think. In the recent Steel comic, I'm trying to remember if Lana was in there. I think she was. I feel like that this, because these characters have often been like relegated to the sidelines or whatever, or the background, where we haven't really seen the relationship. I mean, I remember when they first started dating, I vaguely remember, there is some attention being given to them, but it's like, that was a while. So okay, they've been together for a while now, but it just, I guess because we don't really see many interactions, or I don't remember very many interactions. Maybe I'm just not reading the right books, but it's like now they're getting married. So it's like, okay, but that's fine, because I believe, and I'm pretty sure he was here, Lana was married to Pete, and that fell apart like a long time ago. That's, whatever. They both deserve to be happy. But then the thing is, they're going to get married. What are you going to do with them? Are they just going to be like hanging out in the pages of Superman, and hopefully, Action Comics or whatever, get like a mention or something? Because I don't know if it's like, yeah, they should get their own book, but will people support a Steel book, and I don't even know, what is she Superwoman still, even though Lois is, and so. Yeah, because I mean, if they're gonna get married, let's see more of them. What are they doing? What are they up to? And yeah, Wonder Woman number 20. This I'm reading this. I was like, wait, what's going on? What happened to that King dude, whatever it was? And then it's like, oh yeah, I guess they resolved everything. But it didn't. If they did, and it almost didn't feel like they fully resolved stuff. But I guess they did. So now Wonder Woman is dealing with another issue, like an investigation. So she brings Batman into it. And as I'm reading it, I felt like as I was reading, I was kind of like distracted, like, wait, what happened? So instead of like reading what is actually happening, I kept thinking, is like, what are they investigating? How did this happen? Did I miss the last issue? And then, yeah, so we had all that. New Gods, number 5. I'm trying to think if I've read the first issue or not, but I haven't been keeping up with that. And then Titans 22. So I think I mentioned this because I kept seeing the ad for this, where it's like Deathstroke is alive again or something like that. And I was like, wait, when did he die? And so we have some stuff, and there's, I don't know how, and I think my main problem is the whole. And this happened in another book, which I can't spoil. I don't want to spoil. But it's like when the villain knows all the secrets, it's like, what do you do with them? You can't threaten, like, oh, if you're bad, I'm going to have you arrested and sent to jail. It's like, yeah, okay, you do that. Then the first thing they say is like, oh, so this is their secret identity. But the thing, yeah, so with Deathstroke, I feel like he's had so many interactions with the Teen Titans and everything. He knows who they are, and so it's so easy for him to access them. And if they keep getting in the way of his plans, and he doesn't really have any remorse or whatever, so why hasn't he tried to do anything more permanent? And I know people could say like, well, Beast Boy had a serious, whatever impact or in whatever confrontation with him, and that is something that's brought up. So I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think, like, Deathstroke could be really cool. He was cool in the DC versus Vampires. The Tony Daniels Deathstroke comic, I really enjoyed that. But a lot of time, Deathstroke is just like, you're a dork. So I don't know. But that's all I read. There was Zatanna issue 3. There was Catwoman issue like 70 something. I don't remember what issue. Challengers of the Unknown, and that's it. So that's all I read, and that's all that came out that I can think of. That is comic books for the week. All right, Doctor Who. Doctor Who is back. It's on Disney Plus, which is still I find that weird, but it's also cool, and I hope it opens up the show to a new audience again. Each time, I think more people are discovering it. We got the same dude as the Doctor. I like him. I'm rooting for him. The thing is, like, I get the feeling that some people aren't super crazy about the current incarnation or current era, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know. I hope it's not a matter of them being racist and trying to hide that by come up with excuses. One of the things that I see, because I was like curious, and I actually was like looking at the reviews on IMDb just to see like what is the feel of this episode. I didn't like love the episode. It was obviously we'll get to it. For me, the big problem with the episode was the potential friend, companion, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what they're calling. I think they're calling them friends now, which I don't like. But one of the things people are complaining, it seems like they're complaining about the Doctor, and it's like they're trying not to complain that it's woke, or they're trying not to say, that it's woke and complain about that. But that's really what they're saying. Like one of the things I saw someone complain about that, oh no, the Doctor cried again. He shed a tear. It's like, what's wrong with having emotions? What you'll hear, unless you watched it, someone dies and the Doctor is sad. Why wouldn't he be? And that is just so stupid that you can't show any emotion for someone. You can't be sad. I mean, it's really unfortunate that some people see that any sign of emotion is a sign of weakness. That is just stupid. I don't know. I don't understand the mentality that it was like men don't cry. It's like that's just stupid. Why can't they? So I don't know. So we'll see where this is going. But it was interesting looking at the reviews because you see both sides. A lot of people are like, great start to season, great start to season. Other people are like, here we go again, horrible start of the season. The last season with the space babies, that was like maybe my least favorite episode of that season. So here we go again. They're calling this season 2, which it throws me off. It's like, no, I don't even know what season we're supposed to be on. But so what they're calling season 201, the Robot Revolution. So it starts off 17 years ago. There's this couple sitting outside at night. The boyfriend says, he's talking about like traveling to a star. They're looking at the star. It's 4 quadrillion miles away. And he's like, I know girls aren't good at maths. It's like, you're such a jerk. He's like, but that's a long way. And he chuckles. And then he looks up at the sky. He's like, it's so beautiful. He's like, how can I capture this? How can I celebrate your birthday and treasure this moment forever? So he says he brought her something. He gives her like a gift. It's a framed certificate. It's a star certificate. He bought the star for her, the gift, star registry or whatever. He says it's hers. And he asks, she doesn't say anything. He asks her if she likes it. And then she's like, yes. She's like, it's the nicest thing anyone's, done for me. They awkwardly kiss, and then the camera pans up. And then it looks like there's like a shooting star or something coming out of the star. And then It cuts to 17 years later. We see the TARDIS materialize outside a hospital, and it looks like Belinda that's the name of the girl who got the star. At first, I was like, is she a doctor? But then it turns out she's a nurse. So she's running around being a nurse. Nurses they're constantly on their feet doing stuff. The doctor walks around. He's like looking for her. Obviously, he goes like a receptionist desk and asks for like a home address because so Belinda was just like leaving. I think her shift was over. And the receptionist is like, we don't give that information out. So he tries. This was stupid and annoying. He tries distracting her. He puts a sonic up against the monitor because he's trying to steal information. It sparks, and all the power in the hospital goes out. So hopefully no one died from like if they're like under surgery and all of a sudden the power goes out, or if they're like on At her place, Belinda looks in the fridge. It's like gross in there. There's like stuff is labeled. So she has two roommates. Then the place starts kind of shaking. In her room, her star certificate falls off the wall. There's this bright light outside. There's a big giant spaceship, like a rocket ship. It's pointing straight up. Then they kind of look like Hulkbusters, almost these big like Hulkbuster Iron Man robots. Smash through. They're coming in through the walls, and I don't know if there's like just two or more than two. They're kind of wrecking the place. And one asks if she's Belinda Chandra, or I think it says like Miss Belinda Chandra or something like that. And she's like, "How do you know my name?" And they're like, "That confirms whatever." So they call her Your Majesty, and they're like, "Will you come with us?" And this is why I don't like it. Where you're trying to make her a tough character or whatever, but you got these big. There's a spaceship outside. These giant robots smash through the house, and she's like, "And what if I don't?" They've only smashed her way in, and one is just pointing like a huge giant gun, like ray gun at her. So the robot turns, zaps a cat, and then disintegrates it. And just leaves like a charred imprint on the carpet or whatever. And she gasps. She's like, "You killed the cat." And the robot's like, "The cat is irrelevant." She's like, "It wasn't my cat." "The cat is still irrelevant." And she's like, "What do you want me for?" "We come from the star, Miss Belinda Chandra. We need you as our queen." And she's like, "What do you mean, the star Belinda?" And then the other robots come in with, they grab the star certificate from her room. And she's like, "Miss Belinda Chandra." And she's like, "Oh, you're kidding me." So I guess they let her put on a jacket. She walks out with a two robot. And this is like the weird part. So her neighbor steps out. And I catch it at first. Her neighbor's like, "What's going on?" And it's this old lady. And Belinda asks if she knows Lucy at number 7. She's like, "Tell her cat's gone to live on a farm." And then she's just so nonchalant about this. She's like, "Apparently I'm the queen of outer space. If you could tell the police and my mom and dad, tell them robots are kidnapping. Tell them I love them." And then the neighbor's like, "Oh, take care, Belinda. Bye-bye." And she's just like nonchalant about it too. So they teleport and like onto the rocket. And then the neighbor just like walks through her house. The rocket starts to take off. And then the doctor, he arrived there. He's like yelling her name. And then the neighbor goes to turn inside and she turns the camera. "You ain't seen me." So this is, what was her name? Was it Mrs. Field? So I don't, Mrs. Field was Ruby Sunday's neighbor. So does that mean that Belinda lives 2 houses down from Ruby? I mean, that just seems like way too much of a coincidence. But then the other thing is like, what is up with this lady? So here we still don't know. And the fact that she keeps breaking the fourth wall and looking at us, which I don't know how I feel about that because it just seems weird. So then the TARDIS flies after the rocket. Belinda says that they should be after Alan, her ex. She's like, "I haven't seen him in 16 years. And he's like, "He owes me 50 quid. And then as she's flying, she looks out the window. She sees the TARDIS like flying, out the window. She's like, "What's that?" And a robot voice says, "Descent in 500 cycles." And then she yells for someone to tell her like what the heck's going on. And then everything kind of glitches and like that. The doctor feels this at the same time. So I guess they refer to it as time skipping. He's like, what? And then he adjusts some things. And then it almost sounds like the TARDIS is powering down. He's like, "Oh, that's complicated things." So then Belinda sees that they're approaching a planet. The robot announces approach. It's a planet just called Belinda. And she's like, "Belinda?" So on a planet, a human greets her. at first I was like, is it really a human or is it a robot? So it's a human. Calls her by her first name, and this lady says that she's a people's representative, and her name's Sasha 55. She's like, on behalf of all Miss Belinda Chandra kind, I bid welcome to our one true queen. And Belinda's like, and she's just way too calm about this. She's like, yes, sure, but could you tell these goons? And then she's like, and we obey our robot overlord in all things. And she's like, what? And she's like, our robot overlords, the Miss Belinda Chandra robots. Chandra bots? No, the Miss Belinda Chandra bots is what they're called. And so Belinda's like, so they're in charge? And then Sasha 55 is like, all praise the robots. And you can tell like she's like not totally gung-ho about it because they obviously don't have a choice. So Belinda freaks out when a couple like low-flying ships go overhead. Sasha 55 says that rebels in the North Zone started a riot. And so the robots are like unleashing Miss Belinda Chandra bombs. And there's like some explosions and screams. And she's like, they're killing them? And Sasha 55 is like, the robots must be obeyed. And then she moves closer and she whispers, please help us. So they go inside this building, and there's like 2 rows of humans standing. And there's this little droid. It's almost like a little mouse droid from Star Wars. It's like polishing the floor, like polish. And because it says Belinda can't walk on the floor unless it's cleaned, I guess. So it's like polishing her steps. The robots instruct her to proceed towards the throne. There's like the throne of the queen. There's a big chair like at the end. So she goes there, and then she sits, and she's like, and what happens now? And they're like, the planet Miss Belinda Chandra 1 will celebrate your royal wedding. So the robots congratulate her. And she's like, what do you mean wedding? She's like, who am I marrying? A spark plug? And then they're like, the great AI generator. Behold, the screen pops up, and we see the robot AI generator. But then the doctor is somehow dressed in like citizen clothing and standing with the others. At first I was like, yeah, he was just like 2 steps behind her. How did he get there ahead of her? And then he's like changed his clothes and everything? We'll find out. The AI generator warns citizens that no help is coming. He's like, you will surrender and genuflect to me. The AI generator knows no pity, no kindness, no mercy. So Belinda's like flabbergasted that they want her to marry this thing. Then a robot says it demands union. The AI generator tells a robot to bring her closer. And then the doctor takes out a sonic and he does something. The AI generator mentions welding them like together. And Belinda questions, she's like, what? The AI generator shows the plans that show like her body and how her body and the robotics will be merged. And she's like, I'm saying no. The robots, they regret to inform her that her powers are only nominal. So as a queen, she can't really do anything. That doesn't mean anything. So they're like, enforced wedlock will commence. Then she yells, asking why everything on the planet is so stupid. Sasha 55 says that the designated historian could probably help. So then a robot says that he may speak. So the historian turns out to be the doctor. So how he's a historian now? He starts off with like once upon a time, and he's talking about a robot revolution. But every once in a while, he keeps inserting random words. He's like, once upon a time. But then he's like, listen, blah, 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 to, blah, 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 me, blah, 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 please. So he continues, and he basically says, careful, robots faulty, cannot hear every 9th word. So I don't know how he can do that in his head. As he's talking, he's, in middle of a sentence or whatever, if it's the 9th word, he throws in this other one. So it's a kind of a clever passcode since the robots can't understand. But that just seems weird. They can't hear every 9th word. And it doesn't matter how long or short the word is. At the 9th word, they can't hear it. And it doesn't matter how many syllables. So it's kind of weird. So then she thinks, and she says, and she's counting on her fingers. So she's like, so thank you very much. So that's 5. Very, very much. That's 3 more. And then she's like, gotcha. So then he sneaks in. Rebels fight back very soon. So all the people standing in the lines, they have like something tucked back in like the back of their pants, like their guns. So she messages whatever, blah, blah, blah. When he says blah, 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 blah. Now the human rebels start shooting. The doctor gets Belinda off the throne. the guns that the rebels have, they don't do any damage. They just like bounce off the robots. They finally blow one up, but when the humans get hit, they vaporize. So rebels are getting killed. More rebels drop down. One has like a harpoon gun. More people are getting vaporized. The doctor introduces himself to Belinda, and he says that he'll get her out of here. And then she annoyingly says, "You're not doing a very good job." It's like, he doesn't owe you anything. He is there offering to help you, and you're being ungrateful and just basically annoying. So Sasha 55, she's like, "I swear you can trust this man." And so then it's like, wait, how does Sasha 55 know the doctor? She says that he came to them a stranger, and in just 6 months, she learned to trust him with her life. So it's like, what? And then she says to get Belinda home and then take her to the stars. And he's like, it's a date. So the doctor's going to have a date with Sasha 55 after he gets Belinda home. So she's like, I'll cover for you so you can, reach that exit. She goes around, starts shooting, but then Sasha 55 gets vaporized. So I hope Belinda appreciates that they're doing all of this for her. And it kind of goes silent. Then we see the doctor mouth, "No." We don't hear him, but we just see it. And then Belinda has to pull him through the exit. So they go down a hall. 2 more people join them. One's injured. He's helping another one go. There's just a big orb on a pedestal. Robots are coming down after them. So it's this teleport thing. The doctor then, he zaps it so it blows up so the robots can't follow them. One of the other guys says to her, he's like, "You'd better be worth it." And she's like, "Hey, none of this is my fault, mate." And the doctor's like, "Okay." And she's like, "Don't shush me." It's like, who are you? That you're getting all high and mighty where all this stuff's happening and you don't care. Oh, heaven forbid someone shushes you and you're... So I'd be like, okay, go on back. You're on your own. So he does kind of turn and take a few steps away from her, and he just sits there. And then this is the part I was talking about. He sheds a tear for Sasha 55. So it's at this point, I guess we're all supposed to just hate Belinda, because I sure did. I could not stand her at this point. I still can't stand her. It doesn't, even though it maybe gets better, it doesn't get better enough for me. So she finally walks up to him, he's got his back turned, and she's like, "I'm sorry about your friend." It's like, are you really? His eyes are closed, and he finally says, "Sasha." And she's like, "Sasha 55, she was nice to me." What nice to you? She just greeted you. And who cares if she was nice to you? She's friggin' dead. The doctor chuckles. It's like, "She was lovely. She's dead." And then he's like, "Okay." It's like, "We have a planet to overthrow," or something like that. And then she sees some IV bags, and she asks if she can change them, since, she's a nurse. So I guess her nurse's instincts are kicking in. The doctor, he gets a sudden vision or memory of a soldier. It looks just like her. I was like, is it her or is it someone else? Because, it's hard to tell with the hair different and stuff like that and just everything else. So it's is this because of the time skipping? And he's like, "Mundy Flynn." And she's like, "Mundy Flynn, I'm an ordained Angelican Marine." And so it's as I saw that this person say this, I was like, was that her? But then she said her name is Mundy Flynn. So she asks, what's his name? Belinda asks the doctor, she's like, "What's your name? Doctor what?" And he's like, "Oh, it's just a doctor." And she scoffs. She's like, "You're actually called a doctor?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she chuckles. She's like, "All right, then I'm called the nurse." It's like, whatever. So the place starts shaking, on the surface. Robot ships are shooting the ground, whatever. She checks the injured. She helps this one guy with a dislocated shoulder. I think she asks the doctor if their physiology is similar to humans, and he's more or less. So she helps relocate it, whatever. And then she gets freaked out because they have these X-ray blankets. You pull a blanket over, and then you can see the inside. The doctor says it's "Oh, they're radiation free." And he explains the difference between them and humans. That he's he looks at, points out, whatever. They have a second diaphragm. Then he holds a blanket up against himself. He's like, "Ta-da!" And her jaw drops because she can see his 2 hearts. And then she's like, "Can I?" She asks if she can listen. So she puts her her head against his chest. And then she's confused because the guy lying down doesn't have 2 hearts. And he explains that he's not Miss Belinda Chanderkind. And she's like, "Well, why are you here?" And he says that he came for her, that he was told about her. So it's kind of a long story, and he's got to be careful of timelines. He's like, but he told me your name like it would be important. And she's like, well, I'm not. She's like, I'm really not. So then the doctor explains that the AI generator has the same diploma as hers, because there's like some footage and you can see it holding it or something like that. And she's like, it's a copy? He's like, no, it's the same one. And he's like, here's they look at an image, whatever, on the screen closely. And he's like, look, it has the same tear. And she asks if it's like a time travel, something like that, time travel weight. And he's like, timey-wimey. And she's like, what am I, 5 or something like that? He says that he was at her house when the robots came for her. And he asked her, like, how long ago was that for her? And she's like, 2 hours. And he says it was 6 months ago for him. He chased and followed her, but when she was on board the rocket, he asked if she had a blip, and she thinks, and she says yes. And he explains that that was a fracture in time. So when he landed, the robots impounded his spaceship, and you see them like pushing it away somewhere. Rebels like shoot and pull the doctor away. So he's been living down there in the Undercity for 6 months. Then he met Sasha, and she looked after him. And then that one rebel dude walks by, and he's like, Sasha died because of you. And the doctor's like, it wasn't her fault. And Belinda says, she's like, I can fight my own battles. And she's like, it wasn't my fault. He's like, the dude's like, is that a royal decree? And he's like, you're as bad as the robots. So the doctor tells her that was Manny, and he's like, he's good, I swear. So he says that he's been living with the rebels, trying to help them. It took a long time to get promoted to historian, so he could be there the day that she arrived. And she says that at least someone's glad to see her, and he's like, worth the wait, and you're not the problem, it's the diploma. So when she brought it, the time skip must have taken it to the past, but it traveled more than 6 months. It went back 5,000 years, and it became foundation of myth. So she asks, she's like, if you get two of the same thing together, don't they explode? And he's like, yes. He's like, you get the same atoms in the same space twice. The laws of time say no. He says that he'll take her diploma and keep it very safe. And she asks if is this his job? Is he some sort of time detective? He laughs loudly, but then he's like, no. And then he gets cut off by another explosion. It's like it's a bigger one this time. So Belinda sits by an unconscious child, like dust is falling. The doctor goes to another patient. Then he yells at Manny to hold the roof. So it's like, is this entire structure being supported by like a single pole? He's just like, sitting there pulling, like glaring. He's just glaring at Belinda. And then he starts up again. This is all your fault, Queen Belinda. So then later she picks up the polish droid. Oh, because the doctor, when they arrived, it somehow came with them, I guess, in the teleport thing. So the doctor turned it off because it says that it could be used by the robots to track them. But then she picks it up. Oh, and when the doctor turned it off, he like gives it a little kiss on top. It's like, okay, you're so affectionate. And I think that's what people are talking about, that it's like a bit much. So she picks it up, and then she turns it back on. It's like, what are you doing? The doctor talks to Manny, because he says he needs to get to the memory banks, and that'll be the key. So he told Sasha that that this was his idea or whatever. Manny says that it'll be guarded, but the doctor says it'll have a record of what went wrong. The people and the robots have like a great big long history. He's like, you've been friends for a century, and then it all changed like in one night 10 years ago. And he's like, why? And then Manny's like, wait, because you hear like heavy footsteps approaching, and he's like, they found us. The doctor says that they need to get Belinda out of there. And then she's like, I did this. The doctor is like telling Manny, he's like, grab the documents. And he's like, he tells Belinda to go with Shago or something like that. And she's like, no. She's like, I'm telling you, I did this. A robot blasts a hole in the wall. So it's like, okay, how many injured people are going to get hurt because she turned the cleaner droid on? And because it's like, what is she thinking? Why would the robots only take her, not vaporize everyone? If they're all rebels, you would think that they're just going to kill everyone. So she's such an idiot. Says another robot blasts a hole on the other side of the wall, and then they tell them all to surrender. Belinda tells everyone to stand down. She's like, they've come for me. And she tells like Manny to put his gun down, and he yells at her. He's like, you betrayed us. And she's like, I'm saving you. And the doctor's like, Belle, what have you done? And she's like, I'm sorry. It's like, people are dying, and it's my fault. My name is Miss Belinda Chandra. It's about time I owned it. The doctor tries stopping her, and a robot tells him, like, silence and let her speak. So she's like, robot, now listen to the words of your queen. Leave these people alone. Take me. So she's taken to the AI generator, and he says that he'll bring elevation to her. The doctor somehow came along and says that, if he leaves Belinda alone and welds with him, he'll get a much better result. But the AI generator says that the doctor is a historian, so he will witness events, not participate. The doctor says that, she won't survive the process, but then he's, told to just be silent. Belinda tells the doctor, she's like, it's okay. She's like, once I'm part of the machine, I can talk to it. Maybe I can lead it towards peace. The AI generator says the ceremony is about to begin, so she will achieve serenity, peace, and joy. She tells a robot that, she's doing this for them. Once she's gone, she's like, stop the war. The robot says that they will honor and remember her sacrifice, Miss Belinda Chandra, and she says to remember her as just Belinda. And she's like, I never did like the miss part. So she told that to Alan. The robot asks if she's married, and then she's confused, and she's like, what? And then you hear the doctor's like, what? And then the AI generator is like, are you married? And she's like, but that's what he said. And the doctor's like, who did? And she's like, those were his exact words. She's like, wait, are you? And then the AI generator is like, at last, you know me. So the front of the base opens. There's just like this robotic humanoid inside. It's kind of like all gold and, whatever, metal. And it's like, behold. And she's like, Alan? And the doctor's like, it's not AI, it's AL. Because the front says AI generator, so it's Al. And then she's like, Alan Bud? And he's like, Belinda. And she's like, oh my God, Alan, are you all right? He's like, I am supreme. And she's like, that must hurt. He's like, I am beyond pain. And Belinda's like, I don't understand. God's sake, Alan, what are you doing here? I thought you moved to Margate. And he's like, Stargate. And she's like, how did you end up? They came for me in the night. And she's like, oh my God, it's my fault. I told them about Alan. She says his name like on a rocket. And she says, go get him. So the doctor's like, okay, so the robots went to get Alan. There was a time skip. So they went back 10 long years ago. So he landed before the robot revolution. AI generator Alan's like, I find happiness beyond pain. And she's like, because you've been killing people. And the doctor's like, because he loved it. So there's a flashback when he first arrived. He asked the robots. Alan's like, it's like a game with robots and cities and lasers. And you're saying that this is mine? It's like, I can make up the rules and win? Oh, give it to me. So he's sitting in the generator, AI generator chair. His hand's hooked up to some wires. He says he's feeling strong. He feels power. And then a human says that the robot technology seems like a good 10 years beyond their technology. And he's like, do you mind if I ask? And he's like, I do mind. He's like, destroy him. So the doctor's in the present. He's like, you started the revolution. So Alan, AI, whatever, smiles and nods. And Chandra's like, or Belinda, she's like, but what for? And the doctor's like, Belle, why did you finish with him? And she's like, because, and then we get a flashback where he's like proposing to her. He says when they're married, he really doesn't think she should wear clothes that tight anymore. And plus, like, no more texting after 8 p.m. It's like, wait, what? And she's like, Alan, sweetheart, no. And she's like, because all you ever did was correct me and tut and huff and roll your eyes and tell me off. It's like, oh my God, you've taken coercive control and made it complete control of the whole planet. It's like, how can you live with yourself? And the doctor's like, that's the point. He can't. She's like, he's king of the world. And the doctor's like, no. Every ninth word, your brain interfaces with the machine on an 8-part loop. So every speech, every ninth word, your mind is free. Every ninth word is telling us the truth. So it was like, help me, save me, pain. And he's like, you were born to travel, destined for me, Belinda, to the perfect wedding. Your mind subsumed with mine. And she's like, planet of the incels. And AI, Alan, whatever, is like, say yes, Belinda, or the violence will rage forever. And the doctor's like, Alan, I can help you. I can separate the biolinks. And he's like, no more words. So Belinda turns to the doctor and she says, sorry, she has no choice. The doctor says that he won't stop, that his anger will go on, that Alan yells for her to face him, hold the diploma. And he's like, join with me in ecstasy and freedom. So the doctor reaches his pocket, pulls out the diploma. He drops it on the walkway. The polish droid comes up, polish. It sucks it up, rolls over to Belinda, and she pulls it out. From somehow, yes. And she's like, I'm sorry. So then, as AI generator Al is like holding out the diploma, she takes her diploma that she has. The two diplomas touch together. Big feedback wave. The doctor like runs to her. There's like weird flashes, like it's kind of psychedelic, and like we see Alan like sort of separated, and then there's like time changes, and it's like you see like old Alan, doctor, whatever. He manages to pull her away. Alan AI, he seems to be gone now. He's not in the AI generator like chair. And the doctor's back is it's like he pulled a muscle in his back or something like that. He's like, you needed a Time Lord to take the kaboom, Bell. He's like, I just went through your entire life like a bullet. And he sighs. He's like, you are amazing, Belinda Chandra. You and me, we go back years. And he like laughs. But it's like, what's so amazing about her? I mean, she's a nurse, awesome. But other than that, she's annoying. And she's like, but where's Alan? He's like, where did he go? And then the doctor pulls out the sonic. He's like, I think he's microscopic. And she's like, do you mean he? And the doctor's like, he's a sperm and an egg. It's like, ew. So then polish. And then he's like, oh, goodbye, Alan. And then there's more laughter. They laugh. So Alan somehow went back in time to being a sperm and an egg, was just lying on the floor. It got cleaned by, everyone involved, whatever, the little robot droid. But is he dead now? Does that mean he was killed before? Is he the revolution? I don't even know. So is he not going to be able to buy her the diploma, or like what? Well, I don't understand. Later, unless he just reverted back in his present state. Later, the robots say, like, robots rejoice. Free from Alan Bud generator, we will make reparations and live in harmony with the people to rebuild this world. So then they're like, now, Doctor, behold, his TARDIS is like pushed over to him. He's like, oh, baby. Belinda comments that she saw that in space, and she asks if it's going to be a tight fit with the both of them. And he's like, babes, there's still a little bit of mystery left, huh? Like, how do these robots get a hold of this in the future? She's like, you solve your mystery and after you take me home. So then she was like counting words. The doctor tells Manny and the others to get along, start over. Manny says they're already planning on renaming the building after those that they lost. He's like, that building will be the Citadel of Sasha 55. And the doctor's like, thank you. And then Manny's like, and I have to say, all praise to you, Belinda of Earth. And the robot's like, all hail Belinda, Queen of Planet Earth. She steps into TARDIS, and she's amazed, of course. She says, it's ridiculous. She says, she's like, now, take me home. And she gives him a date. She's just, like, so demanding. And he's like, yeah, but we don't need to rush because Time Lord, Time Machine, he's like, there is something already connecting us. He's like, I've been to the future, and I've met your descendant on a planet far away in the 51st century. Her name was Mundy Flynn. Chandra's like, did she look like me? He's like, absolute match. Because he scans her with the sonic, and she says that's like 3,000 years time. So is that supposed to be a coincidence? And he says that that's what he was worried about. So he's like, the genetic link is amazing. So he scanned her, and is that just a chance or something more? So they must be linked. She's like, oh, do you say that to all the girls? And he laughs, but then she asks if he said all that to Sasha, because she trusted him and she died, which is like a stupid thing to say. It's like, no, she died because of you, Miss Belinda Chandra. She's like, you tested my DNA without even asking my permission. And she's like, God, you're dangerous. And the doctor's like, I'm sorry, inexcusable. With both hearts, I apologize. And she's like, I'm not one of your adventures. And it's like, how does she know that he goes on adventures? And she's like, now I'm asking you, doctor, to do the right thing. And he's like, I will take you home. But then, he pulls a lever and everything. Every time he pulls it back, he pulls it a few times. It's like they're being, he says it's like they're being repelled. And they're bouncing off, because they're supposed to go to May 24th, which is a really cool day. He's like, they're sort of bouncing off May 24th. He's like, and that is impossible. So he opens the door, looks outside, and there's nothing but space. He says that, he's like, that's all wrong. He's like, halfway between Miss Belinda Chandra and planet Earth. He's like, he's like, I don't know what this is. So he tries again and again, and so something's bouncing him off the planet to Earth, And on the day he left, he's like, why? And she's like, doctor, I told you, get me home. But it's like, shut up. What do you think he's trying to do? And he's like, I am. And she's like, you are not. And he's like, this might be the long way around, but hold on tight, because this is going to be quite a ride. So they leave, and then like out in space, you see like a car floating. I think it's like the Eiffel Tower, the top half of like Statue of Liberty, and then there's like a diploma, and there's a calendar page for May 25th, May 2025. So it's like, what is happening? And then that's the end of the episode. And then the next episode, they end up going to 1952. So I guess that's a long way. I don't know. So looks like she is going to go on adventures with him, but she just seems kind of annoying. It's one thing to be like, stand up for yourself, but I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I love Doctor Who, but these episodes are just okay. I'm curious what people think. Is like, how relevant is Doctor Who? Are people still watching it? Because I'm just watching it because like the nostalgia thing, but it's not like my most, I don't get like super excited over it anymore because the stories are just okay. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, first episode last season wasn't great. Hopefully things will get better next week. We shall see. All right, The Last of Us is back. Season 2, episode 1, Future Days. And so I really, I always wish I played the game. I have the first game. I think I got a used copy. And then I was like, I should just buy one for PlayStation 4 because I don't have a PlayStation 5. Long story. I'm so bitter. And I refuse. I'm done with I've retired from video games. But I want to play it because, the first season was so good and everyone's like, this game is amazing and all that. So I enjoyed the first season. Pedro Pascal was great. But, man, so I knew there was a small time jump. But, man, Ellie was kind of annoying in the first season. But she was okay because she was a kid. Now, oh my gosh, there's times I literally like 20 minutes in, I was like, I don't even want to watch the show. Let's go through it, and then so I'll add some commentary throughout. We get like the last season, and I'm trying to remember the last episode. It wasn't even that long ago because you get the big recap and everything, and like the last thing, they're walking, and she's like, "Swear to me that everything you said about the Fireflies is true." And I'm trying to remember like what he said, and he like looks at her, he's like, "I swear," and she stares at him a bit, and she's like, "Okay," and as she starts walking, he like pauses and he like starts after her. So then this episode starts off. We see like the giraffe eating like in. Whatever, I don't know if there's a bunch of giraffe eating. I don't know if it's the same ones from last season. So there's a bunch of people standing. There's like some little graves, and they're like little crosses. So these are all Firefly people because they have like medallions, and there's medallions hanging off like little like crosses on each grave. So this guy Manny, and I'm trying. There's like so many people in this episode, and I'm trying to remember. It's like, okay, who is new and who is from last season. So I think all these people were new, and I'm trying to like keep track like who is who. So someone named Manny is like, why would he do this? And then so this lady's like said that she heard some rumors. It was some kid that he took that was supposedly, and then another one cuts her off. It's like that wasn't true. And the dude's like, well, because so I think this is from when they took Ellie. And because she was immune, so they wanted to run tests, and I think they were going to end up like dissecting her. Wasn't that what happened? They were going to kill her, do something to find out why she's immune, and then that's when Joel like busted out of his hospital bed and like basically killed people to get her out of there. I think I should have watched it again. So, but she's like, it doesn't matter because it's not true, it's not possible. So what do they do now? They look for other Fireflies. So one says that this place was the Fireflies. And then this guy says that someone named Ed has a brother in Seattle. So someone named Isaac, and supposedly he would take them all in. And then Abby, who's someone from the game that we're supposed to know, and she's like, not until we find Joel, or Pedro Pascal. She's like, we're finding him. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And she's like, all right. She's like, let's just talk about how. Because, here's what we got. He's a smuggler. His name is Joel or Joe. There's some confusion about that. And then she cuts him off, Abby. She's like, 50s, graying, beard, 6 foot tall, scar on his right temple. Oh yeah, they say that he's handsome. I forgot. With a 3-day jump on us. We should have gone right after him. And the guy's like, he drove away, Abby, in our only working vehicle. And she's like, and we were trying to save the wounded, but we didn't save anyone, did we? And he's like, maybe the Seattle crew has resources. They could help us get some sort of lead. And she sighs. She's like, you'll help me find him? And he's like, yes, we'll help you find him. And then we'll help you kill him. And then she goes to like a grave. She puts like a firefly necklace on a cross, shakes hands, and she's like, slowly. And the guy's like, what? She's like, when we kill him slowly. And it's like, oh, what? And then it cuts to 5 years later. So then someone named Caleb and Ellie, they're like grunting in a barn. They're fighting. It's like, are they fighting or are they training? Because, there's a lot we don't know. So he like tells her to get up. She's like got a bloody face. She charges at him, like grabs his midsection, but he just like tosses her down. She's on her back. She like kicks with both legs, but then he grabs them. He like starts choking her, but then she manages to wrap her legs like around his neck. She like sits up. She's like twisting his either his wrist or his thumb back or something like that. And then finally he like taps out, and then he does it again. And this guy Jesse's like, okay. He's like, Ellie, and then she lets go. And she's like, boom, mother trucker. And Jesse's like, okay, first of all, he's like, okay means stop. And she's like, sorry, I was in the moment. And he's like, second, you can't boom, mother trucker people who land the first hit on you. Square in the face, by the way. And she's like, well, I can obviously take a punch, so who cares? Fudging hard, by the way. And the guy's like, I pulled it. And she's like, what? He's like, I pulled it. And Jesse's like, I told him to. And she's like, why? And he's like, otherwise he would have knocked you out, and I don't want to have to explain that to Joel. And she's like, don't do that again. And he's like, okay. And he's like, are you going to the thing tonight, whatever? And she's like, well, don't we have to? Because of community and poop. And Jesse's like, are you part of the community now? Because if you are, we can use the extra pair of hands breaking down firewood for the cookout. And she's just like, don't pull punches. And she goes outside. So right there, it's annoying. So outside you see is like this western town. It's snowy. There's mountains, there's people on horses, and people working and everything. So Joel's working on something. At first I was like, is he working on a clock? What's he doing? This girl Dina comes in, and she says, because they found there's like these pipes outside, and she says that the main lines are clay, they're cracked to poop, and they're full of roots. And so they're not sure what they're supposed to do. And their foreman isn't foremanning. So he's a foreman. He's like, sorry. He's like, I'll be out in a minute. He says that he's checking on the breakers, and then she's like, teach me. And so he explains stuff about like circuits and like how you have to like watch the heat because not enough. If it overheats, it could catch on fire and blah blah blah. And Dina's like, can I ask you a question? And he's like, shoot. And then he's like, why is she angry with you? And then he's like, she said she was angry. And Dina's like, no, but. And Joe's like, you're her best friend. She would have told you. And she like sighs. She's like, nope. And Joe's like, well, I figure it's normal, her being 19 and me being her what I am. It's like, no one likes their parent at that age. I never got there with my own kid. So we're both just figuring it out for the first time is all. We'll get through it. And then she tries like changing the subject back to like the breakers and that. He's like, the thing is, I know I'm a hard ass and maybe overprotective and she's her, but I mean, what did I do? And Dina's like, I don't know. He's like, yeah, well, I can't hold myself responsible for another person's emotional state. And then Dina kind of smiles and she's like, are you in fudging therapy? She's like, are you seeing Gail? He's like, I'm not in therapy. He's like, go fix the main line. So, but it's like, why is she think it's funny if he's in therapy? And then he's like, saw out the cracked parts, pull the roots, and we'll fill the gaps with some ABS. He's like, go on. So she gets up and then she's like, it'll be okay. And before she walks out, he's like, he asks her, Dina, not to tell anyone that he's in therapy. So Ellie, then we see her, she's doing like some target practice with Tommy, Joel's brother, Diego Luna. And then she laughs because she hits a zombie. There's a zombie eating a deer. She shoots it in the head. She's like, this scope is sick. And Tommy's like, oh, it's not the scope, it's a shooter. It's like, right. And then she's like, who's next? So she's like, oh, is she getting off on killing infected or what? I don't know if I don't think they're not called zombies or whatever. So she tries another that broke off from a cluster. She aims, and he's like, this one's further, so you got to count for the blah, blah, blah. That she misses the head, and she like kind of hits it in the chest. So then Tommy comments that they're coming off the road, so they should head back and get a patrol. And she says that she wants to go on that. And he's like, well, I'm actually taking off patrols for a bit. I'm putting on gate watch. And she's like, what? Gate watch? Why? And he's like, because it's an important job. And she's like, it's standing on a fudging fence. Then he's like, he's concerned about you. And then she gets mad. She's like, unfudging real. And he's like, well, the last run you were a bit reckless. She's like, it was 2 runners and a clicker who barely had teeth. I handle it. Isn't that the job? And Tommy's like, you wandered off on your own, Ellie. It's like, we have rules for a reason. And she's like, oh, please. Dina does this poop all the time. No one's putting her on the fudging fence. So she's just so annoying. She's like, Tommy, I'm an adult. He can't tell me what I can and can't do. And then he's like, yeah, well, he can tell me. He's like, look, I've been dealing with him my whole life. Sometimes easier is to just go along. And she's like, I don't care if it's easier. It's not fair. And by the way, I'm the one we should be least worried about when it comes to infected. He's like, hey, no. He's like, you swore. We don't talk about that. And she's like, I got bit on my arm. And he's like, Ellie, we don't talk about that. I got bit, everybody. And he's like, hey. And she's like, I got bit. And he's like, hey. So he's like, yeah, she's an adult. And she's like, I'm immune. And he's like, whoa. He's like, hey, I swear, you and my brother, same GD fudged person. And she's like, well, if we're the same person, you're not winning this. She's like, put me on a patrol. And then he like stupidly gives in. It's like, no, there are rules. There's a hierarchy. There's procedure. You can't just do whatever you want. So she like smiles and she's like, ugh. So then he's like, now you follow the rules. You obey your captain. No question, no exceptions. And she's like, well, that depends. Who's the captain? And he's like, Ellie. And she's like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll do it by the book. So then we see like the wagon comes with new survivors, come to the town. Joel's at his desk, like he's like talking about some stuff. There's this lady, Maria, who's actually his sister-in-law. She's looking out the window at the newcomers, and she's like, there's some cold. The cold is starting to come in this window. And Joel mentions like caulk that they've been using a lot. He's been meaning to get more or whatever. And she's like, we need to build faster. And he's like, sure, how much faster? He's like, see, we got this dial called the constructometer. And she's like, Joel? He's like, the more you turn it, the faster we go. She's like, we're running out of space to put these people. He's like, yeah, I noticed. Maybe your council would stop letting so many people in. And she's like, it's our council. And those people are fleeing collapsed settlements. They're fleeing infected. We're supposed to leave them out there? And Joel's like, well, if our lifeboat is swamped, yeah, we leave them out there. And then he like sighs. He's like, if I could, I'd let them all in. I'm working every damn day and night to make more space. He's like, you know that. He's like, but you got to look after your own first, or you're no good to anyone. Then Benji, Tommy's kid, comes in, Tommy and Maria's kid, and Joel jokes with him and some stuff. And then Tommy walks in. He's like, what's going on? And Joel says, like, well, your wife wants me to build faster. So Tommy's like, did you tell her about the dial? And she's like, scoffed. She's like, yeah, he told me. Joel sees that Tommy has his rifle and some ammo. He's like, you hunting? And Tommy says, he's like, infected. And then Joel's like, you buy it yourself? And Tommy's like, uh-huh. So he lied. And Joel's like, okay, I got to go. Then Maria's like, Joel, you're a refugee too. But yeah, obviously he's pulling his weight around there. Joel goes to see Gail. And then he notices like 2 pairs of boots inside. So it's like, at first it's like, wait, what's that about? Is there someone else there? But there's not. So she asks him if he wants some tea or whiskey. And she's like, the tea's mostly like dirt and whatever roots or something. So he's like, what's the occasion? She says it's her birthday. So he gives her like a baggie of some marijuana, and she complains that it's just like stems and stuff or whatever. And Joel's like, it's winter. And she says that never stopped. I forget who did she say never stopped Eugene? She said never stopped someone who's like always grew his big buds and whatever like that. So she's like, payment accepted. Then she sets a timer for like, I think like 45 minutes, something like that. He comments on her drinking. He's like, are you supposed to be drinking during this? And she's like, well, I woke up feeling sad, and it's my first birthday without my husband in 41 years. So she's like, yeah. And then she's like sitting there, she's kind of waiting for him to start. She's like, tick, tick, tick. So he says that he tried what she said. He backed off. He stopped putting pressure on her. Doesn't make her sit down with him for dinner anymore. And what does he get for it? Nothing. She comes home. She shuts herself in a dang garage, which he never should have allowed her to move into. And he's like, that's it. Not so much as a hello. He sees her around town. She just gives him a nod like he's a stranger or it's like some a-hole. It's like even Dina asked him today what's wrong with her. He's like, that one, she treats me like a human being, talks to me, says hello, makes me feel like I'm a good guy, which I am. And Dina, she understands him like, she's his kid or something, but she's not. And Gail's like, It's like, neither is Ellie. And she's like, tell you what, let's try something different. And Joel's like, what? And she's like not pretending you have the most boring problem in the world. She's like, oh, my 19-year-old daughter, she's acting towards me like every other 19-year-old daughter has ever acted towards her dad, ever. And she's like, what is this, our 5th session? Are you just going to keep grouching on this every time? And he's like, aren't you supposed to be validating me or something? And she's like, oh, yeah, actually I am. But I'm not going to do it anymore because you're lying to me and it's exhausting. And he's just like, and she's like, yes, you are, Joel. Yes, you are. I've done this long enough to know when somebody is leaving something out, and you are definitely leaving something out. And you want me to validate that? No. In fact, fudge no. And he looks at her, he looks at the bottle of whiskey. He's like, that's not your first of the day. And she's like, oh, no, it isn't. And before, when I said I was sad, that wasn't true either. He's like, I'll just come back another day. And then she's like, should I say it out loud? It's like, yeah, I should. You can't heal something unless you're brave enough to say it out loud. And then she whispers, she's like, I'm scared though. I'm scared to say it, which is why I have to. She's like, you shot and killed my husband. He sighs. She's like, you killed Eugene and I resent you for it. He's like, no, maybe a little more than that. I hate you for it. I hate you for it. And yes, I know you had no choice. I know that. I know I should forgive you. Well, I've tried and I can't because of how you did it. And looking at your face sitting in our home makes me so fudging angry. It's like, there it is. I've said it. I'm ashamed, but it's in the air and I can't take it back. And now maybe there's a chance I can make things right with you. Your turn. Say the thing that you're afraid to say. It's like, I can help you. Say it out loud no matter what it is, no matter how bad. It's like, I promise I will help. And she's like, did you do something to her? And his eyes are all watery, teary. And he shakily nods. She's like, did you hurt her? And he whispers no. And then Gail's like, then what? What did you do? And he stands up. He's like, I saved her. And a tear falls on his face. And he walks out and she's confused. So I'm confused too. He saved her? Is it because he killed those people to save her? And I think that maybe she doesn't realize what he did. I mean, I really should watch that last episode again. So Ellie's in the garage. She's actually listening to Nirvana, Love Buzz. And she's working, I don't know if she's cleaning her gun or doing something like that. And we see she's got tattoos on her arm, over where her arm was bit and that. There's a knock on the door and it's Dina. So she's going on the run too. And Dina says that she heard that she was getting stuck on the fence today. She's like, how'd you get out of that? And Ellie's like, Tommy. And then she notices Ellie's holster and she's like, where'd you get that? And Ellie's like, I think she's a Dominique, someone. She's like, I traded some old boots for it. And then Dina sees her, she's wearing Chuck Taylor. She's like, he should have kept the boots. So at first it's like, okay, you're going to go on a patrol wearing sneakers. So they go out, they get on horses. Ellie and Dina, they're kind of annoying when they explain, because what's his name, Jesse, he's explaining the route and the procedures like that. And they're just sarcastic and everything like that. And it's like, okay, again, there are rules and stuff like that. You don't have to go on this, you want to so badly. So the patrol, I think there's 5 people total. They're going out. Ellie and Dina, of course, are at the back, just talking. They're talking about this gathering thing that they're doing tonight. But then the patrol stops up ahead because there's a trail of blood. And then stupid Ellie just takes off towards it. So Nat, the squad leader, she tells her to wait because, and they're supposed to listen to her because they should go back and report it. Dina starts following Ellie and she's like, but we're recon. So they find some dead infected and a grizzly bear, and Nat and the others, they come up. So Ellie and Dina, they seem bummed that they show up, but it's whatever. They want to go inside, like there's this grocery store because they see like a truck and there's like a window open like on a second floor, like by the truck. So she's like, oh, they must have holed up in there or something like that. So they want to go inside, see if there's anyone in there. Because she's like, there could be survivors, there could be a baby, and stuff like that. Because Nat's like, no. But they just go. So there's like muffled screaming, and Ellie's like, oh, so it's just 2-on-1. But then Dina like stops her, they listen, and then there's like a high-pitched screaming. So she holds up 2 fingers. So this is why Ellie's an idiot. Because she just wants to go in all gung-ho, but Dina's like, hang on, wait. Ellie's like, okay, so it's 1-on-1. She's like, we've done that before. And then there's some distant growling. So it's like, is it just 2? So Ellie's like, if you'd rather let the men handle it. And Dina puts her gun in her holster and she takes out her knife. So they go in through a window. There's like a dead body on the floor. They kind of split up. They look on both, both sides of this wall or whatever. They start making a plan to attack. They point to a bottle, like Ellie's going to use it to distract or something like that. And they do like a lot of stabbing motion, and Ellie's like stabbing her neck and like making face, and like it's like, okay, are you really 19? Because I don't think 19-year-olds act like that. Maybe younger. So Dina moves on her side, and the whole time I'm like, okay, so this is Ellie's friend. Something's going to happen to Dina because Ellie is so irresponsible. Ellie picks up the bottle. She looks around, and she's looking in this area. So this is like the top floor of like a grocery store. There's like happy birthday directions. You see all these like employee of the month pictures, and there's like just screeching. So she throws the bottle like down the little like sort of hall thing. One comes running to see like what the noise was, and then Ellie's like kind of sneaks up a bit, and then she runs and jumps on its back, starts stabbing it in the neck. It's like, shouldn't she stab it in the head? But she keeps stabbing in the neck. Finally it falls, and then Dina comes up. She's like, did you get bit? Do I have to shoot you in the face? And she's like, not today. So it's so great that they're taking this so seriously. And then Ellie starts to say before he leaves, she's like, oh, you should check this out. And she's talking about the employee of the month, because there was, and some employee of the month, there was like a picture of a dog or something like that. So the dog was employee of the month, whatever. But as she's saying that, the floor gives out. Ellie falls down to like the first level. And, so she lands like, and, she kind of catches her breath, and Dina calls out, and she's like, are you okay? Are you hurt? And Ellie says she's good. Nothing's broken. She doesn't think. But she's lucky that she didn't break something, or she didn't get impaled. She's just not sure how she's going to get out, because it's so high up. She looks around. She's like, I just see padlocked doors. So Dina's going to look around, and she's like, there's got to be a stairway down or something. And so Ellie's she's like, stay there, don't move. Ellie, of course, moves. She looks around. She sees like a People magazine, and there's like, wait, is that something crawling behind, like up high somewhere? She drops it because she hears like something. So she drops the magazine. She takes out her rifle, and she starts like walking around. And then you see there's something like crawling on kind of floor, like a few aisles over. So not quite parallel, like a little behind her. It keeps moving. It's like almost parallel to her. And then when she reaches like the end of the aisles, she looks around, and then it's behind her, like grunting and moaning. And she sees it. It's just sitting there, like a little like ways away. She's like, she tells it to run at her. And she's like, run at me. Then she's like, run at me. But then it darts back. So it does the opposite. Usually it comes at her. So she goes after it. She runs over to that aisle, and it's gone. And she's like looking around for it. And it turns out it was like hiding behind her. So kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it, like some little like freezer thing, just like a self-standing freezer where like there's pieces of meat or fish or whatever in the grocery store. So, but the bottom part is kind of like hollowed out. So it was like hiding in there. And this, in fact, it looks different, because most of them, their faces, there's no faces, and their heads are like all, what do they call them, like mushroom or whatever. So this one actually has a face, and it has eyes and just like little like things growing out of its head. So Ellie's like just looking around. She hears it. She spins and shoots, but it's gone again. And then she's like kind of standing in shock. And then it comes at the side, knocks her down. So she's on. It's like scrambling on top of her. Ellie's like trying to fight it off, but she's not doing much. And then it chomps down like on her stomach. So she finally shoots it a couple times. And she looks. She got like teeth, like teeth mark, like mouth mark on her stomach. Dina found the stairs. She runs up, and she's like, "Oh, all that? She's just one?" And she's like, "Yeah." So then we see the two had to report this to the council. So they're like sitting there. Tommy and Maria are like in the middle. And Tommy's like, so you're saying it was smart? And Ellie's like, well, I'm not saying it could do math or anything, but it didn't run at me. It did what we do. It took cover, planned, waited, lured me in, stalking. And Maria asked Dina, she's like, and you saw it too? She's like, yeah, exactly like Ellie said, which is she's lying. Tommy's like, how does you two running into an uncleared building qualify as following the rules and obeying your captain? And Dina's like, well, it wasn't like this was our first time, and we've killed lots of infected before, but that's besides the point. And then this is part that, again, so annoying. Ellie's like, and you're telling me what? If it were you and Joel, you wouldn't have gone in? And it's like, ugh. It's like they're a hierarchy, experience and all this. And you're 19. You're barely not even a child. You act like a child. And he's like, well, that ain't the same. And she's like, why? He's like, because it's different. And Maria, of all people, she's like, how? And Tommy just like looks at her. And then Maria is just like, Tommy doesn't say anything. So Maria's like, all right, apologize to Kat. That was a squad leader. She's like, log your report with Jesse, go. So they leave. This other council member, there's other people there. They're asked, she's like, do we believe them? And Maria says Dina obviously was lying because she didn't see anything, but she believes Ellie. And Tommy says that maybe the smart one was a one-off. This other lady's like, well, what about the other 6 that brought down the Grizzly? So I don't know what happened to them, how they died. But then Tommy says, 6 ain't good, but it's not exactly a horde. Maria's like, not yet. And then she's like, lately I've had a feeling. This other guy's like, oh, feeling, or whatever. And they start talking. But then Tommy's like, he's like, 4 hours till New Year's. Like, we adjourned. So they adjourned. So Ellie, she's at her in the garage or in her room. She puts like alcohol on a blade and then she's like going to wash it off. Cuts like the teeth marks off, sort of. I don't know exactly what she was doing because she kind of like cuts a circle. And I'm like, is she going to like rip off the whole skin? But then she kind of like sews some stuff. So we don't see everything, but it didn't seem like she must have cut it off, but she didn't. I don't know what she did. Or maybe she just cut a ring. I don't know. Then she's like writing in her journal. Oh, she mentions Dina's joke. So she's clearly, Dina's like her best friend, but she's clearly crushing on her. Because like before they left, Dina's like ends like helping her with her jacket, like and everything like that. And you can see they're really close. And Ellie's like almost like getting flustered in a way. And she made this joke about the bear, like what do you call a bear when you see a bear's ribs, a bear BQ or something like that. And obviously, from the first season, Ellie loves the corny jokes. And she's like, did you just make that up? And she's like, yeah. And so, she could really appreciate that, whatever. So she wrote like bear BQ in her journal. And she's like, I think she said something like, don't mess this up or something. Then she's smiling. There's a knock on the door and her smile kind of falters. And she's like, come in. And it's Joel. He like turns on the lights. He's like, is that better? And she's like, nope. And she doesn't even turn around and look at him because, she has her back to him. He's like, oh, I came to see if you're going to that thing tonight. It would be good to show your face. And she lies. She's like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Then he sees like her guitar on the floor, asks if she's been playing much. And she's like, enough. He picks it up, like looks at it. And he's like, strings are shot. He's like, I could put some new ones on for you. And she's like, you don't have to do that. He's like, I can get it back tomorrow. And he just like walks out. So it's like, and she's just like sitting there. It's like awkward. So then like in the town, there's people out, there's like string lights. And then like, I thought it was like a barn, but I guess it was in a church. There's all these people dancing in his room. There's a band playing. You see like New Year's 2029 sign. So Ellie's like watching, she's smiling as people dance. And she sees like Dina with like some dude and everything like that. And then Jesse comes up, says that he hates these things. He also comments how like Dina likes to put on a show because so Dina and I think Jesse were dating before because Dina asked Ellie like who she was going with, and Ellie's like no one, and she's like, well, what about so and so, because she's the other one, because I think there's only no one else, there's no other gay people in town. But then Dina said that she was going alone because her and I guess Jesse broke up, and Ellie's like, again? It's like, what is it with you two? And she's like, I don't know. So Jesse says that Dina likes to put on a show. Ellie's like, oh, you'll be back together, 2 weeks tops. He's like, wow, I don't think that's going to happen. And she's like, how come? But then Dina comes up. She grabs Jesse's drink, downs it, And then she pulls Ellie onto the dance floor. And he's like, don't forget, you have early patrols. Get some rest. And Dina sarcastically salutes. She's like, sir, yes, sir. So again, it's so annoying. They're so immature. On the dance floor, so they're close. Like Dina has her arms around Ellie's neck. Ellie has like her hands on Dina's like kind of like her hips or whatever. So then she's like, I have to ask you a serious question. How badly do I smell? So Ellie like leans in and she's like a hot pile of trash. And then Dina, she kind of like rubs on her, like she's like trying to rub the stink on her or whatever. And obviously, if Ellie is crushing on her, this is like, you know. And Ellie's like, oh, you're so drunk. And Dina's like, no, I'm high. She's like, I smoked a lot. She takes Ellie's arm, like kind of moves it like more behind her back so they're like closer. And then she like puts her chin on Ellie's shoulder. And again, it's so obvious that she's been crushing on her. I don't even know, even though they're supposed to be just friends. And as far as we know, Dina is straight, but maybe that's going to change. So then Ellie's like, every guy in this room is staring at you right now. And then Dina like gets close and like whispers in her ear. She's like, maybe they're staring at you. And Ellie's like, they're not. And then Dina's like, maybe they're jealous of you. And Ellie's like, no reason to be. I'm not a threat. And then she's like, oh, Ellie, I think they should be terrified of you. And then they're like sitting there, they're like still dancing. And then their mouths are like really close. And Dina kind of puts her mouth like up to Ellie's. So they kind of kiss. And then they start kissing some more. And then this older guy, Seth, he's like, hey, he's like, this is a family event. And then Dina is like, sorry. And he's just standing there looking at them. And she's like, sorry, like louder. So they start moving away. It's like some other parts. And then he's like, you're in a church, dykes. And then Ellie like stops and turns around. She's like, the fudge you just say? And Dina tries pulling her back. But then Joel violently shoves Seth to the floor. Everyone like gasps. And Joel's like, looks out at him. He's like, get the hell out of here. So Maria helps Seth up. He's like, oh, why don't we go take a walk? And then Joel asks Ellie, he's like, are you okay? And then she goes off on him. She's like, what is wrong with you? And he's just like, because they're in the middle of this crowd, and, what is he supposed to say? She's like, I don't need your fudging help. And then he kind of looks around and looks at her. He's like, right. And then he just like walks like through the room to the exit. Gail watches him as he walks by. And you hear like the door open and close. So, I mean, obviously that's embarrassing for him, but he was just trying to protect her, and she just does not care. It's like, yeah, maybe she didn't need his protection, but again, what is she going to do? She's going to go up to this guy. She's going to hit him or do something like that. And for all, I mean, the guy was kind of built. I don't know. I call him an old man, but that the other guy pulled his punch on her, and it's just so annoying. So the festivities continue, and then we see Ellie like walking home. She hears like a guitar, and Joel's like on the porch, like kind of strumming along, and he stops when he sees her, and she just kind of like glares at him, walks past the porch of the garage. It's like, ugh. It's like, oh, why don't you go live in a garbage dump or something, or go live in a tree stump if you don't want to live there? I mean, what is she doing around town? She's kind of doing patrols, but she's not listening. She's doing what she wants to do. So there's more people celebrating, and then they pass by like the busted pipes with the roots, and there's something moving in there. So from what I recall, I'm not an expert on these things, but I think somehow, because if the roots, they're sort of like sentient, they're aware. So these roots are probably aware that there's a community here, that there's people there. So maybe it's going to call other zombies, because aren't they all, or other infected, because aren't they all kind of connected through a net? I don't even understand that. But then we see like people walking through trees, they're like wearing these big winter coats like that, and then they kind of look and they see lights. I'm assuming it's the lights of the town. And it's annoying Abby and the Fireflies. So they're, after 5 years, I guess they finally have somehow, some crazy way, how is it even possible, she's going to track down Joel. That was the end of the first episode. But I just feel like I missed something. Why is Ellie so angry? And yeah, that's how it is with kids and adults sometimes. But man, so I mean, I like the show so much, but I just find Ellie so annoying. And I know a lot of people can't stand her. And I don't want to get on the I don't like Bella Ramsey bandwagon, because it's not about that. I mean, I'm assuming she's playing the role to what the script is, but I just find the character so annoying. And she's supposed to be because she's a teenager, but not that a teen. I mean, my daughter wasn't this annoying. It's not this annoying. Man, oh man. But that was a first episode. And thank you, if you're listening, thank you HBO Max for only dropping one episode. Because one, it makes it easier for me. And two, I don't want to plow through this. I want this to last. And now I can think about this. It's like, well, what is going on? And if you watch like the extra stuff at the end, there's obviously stuff. We're going to get some flashbacks. We're going to find out some more stuff. But this, we can think about it. It's like, what is going on? We have this week to talk about it. So that is The Last of Us. All right, Daredevil, Born Again, Season 1, Episode 9, Straight to Hell. And yeah, this is the last episode, and it was pretty crazy. So let's just get to it. I'll share my thoughts throughout and at the end. So it starts off, like we see like Poindexter like shooting, and it's like a year ago. So Vanessa's visiting. So I like just totally blanking out on season 3 of Daredevil? And so she's visiting Poindexter. I think he's like at a hospital. He's like all drugged up. I don't even remember what happened to him. So they're like kind of sort of in the cafeteria thing, and she mentions like the FBI corruption scandal, Agent Nadim, and all this stuff. And she's like, that's why her husband was acquitted, so it's only fair that it should benefit Poindexter also. And he has some like document, or she gives him some documents to read, and he kind of looks at him. He's like really like kind of out of it. It says like it's an order for conditional release pending appeal. And he's like, Fisk, he knows about this? And she's like, I haven't seen my husband in a while. I had you released because I need a favor. He's like, you want me to kill someone? And she's like, a thief called Benjamin Cafaro and his lawyer, Foggy Nelson. And he's like, I remember him. Escaped the past, Dewey. And she's like, the case he's involved with would shine unwanted light on some of my business practices. It has to be soon, in the next few days. It's like, I'm offering you a chance to get your mind back, yourself. This is no way to live. And then he's like brought some like medication, and he like tries reaching for it, but then she moves it like off the papers, and he's like, just kind of slow. He's like still kind of like reaching for it and everything. She's like, you are the very best at this type of thing. That's why I came. Your history with my husband isn't part of this. And he's like, he's always part of this. And Vanessa's like, it's a simple offer. And then she puts a pen in his hand, and he can barely like sign his name. It's almost like she's kind of helping him. And she's like, you're free. And then the screen goes blue. So back at the ball, it kind of backs up a bit. Heather's dancing with Fisk. And again, everything's blue because this is what Poindexter sees or whatever. Vanessa's still dancing with Matt. But her red, you can still see her red dress. So then Poindexter cocks a rifle. He puts Vanessa in his sights, and then he moves it to Fisk. And then Matt dives in front of the bullet. Screen goes black. People are screaming. Matt wakes up in hospital. So Heather and Kristen are there. And Heather goes to the side, and when he wakes up, so she's still in her ball outfit. There's like some blood on her, and then Matt's like, Karen, and she's kind of taken aback a little bit. Kristen tries reassuring her. She's like, it's the drugs. Then he's like, Heather, and he's like, you okay? And she just like whispers, she's like, fine. And he's like, he like swallows, exhales. So like, I think it was Heather. Like, she decides to give him water. She hands it to him. He's like, Fisk. And Heather's like, you saved his life. And he's like, yeah, I heard someone scream gun, and I just reacted. And he's like, Poindexter? And Kirsten like, he's still at large. So then Matt takes off his breathing thing, like in his nose. He's like, Kristen, Vanessa Fisk ordered to hit on Foggy. And then Heather leaves his side and sits back in a chair because she thinks he's just delusional. Never mind, why don't you say, okay, why do you feel this? Why are you saying this? Where's your proof? Why? She just doesn't want anything to hear about it. He's like, listen, the case Foggy was working on, can you get me access to it from, and then she's like, hey, listen, you're on a ton of medication. He's like, I know how this sounds. And Kristen's like, I really don't think you do. I don't think you do, okay? And Fisk and Vanessa, I guess they're back at their place. He pours her a drink. She says that, she's still shaking, and they're still like in their ball bloody outfits. And Fisk's like, all I care is that you're still alive. Vanessa. He's like, I know. And she sighs and she sits next to him. So I guess that means he knows that she put the hit out on Foggy. And Matt's at the back. So it keeps cutting back and forth between, Kingpin and Matt. So back at the hospital, he's like, Foggy knew he was going to win his case. It's like, I talked to Josie. He had already opened a bottle of old Melvinese. And Christian's like, I remember him drinking it. And he's like, right? And she's like, he was saying that he was celebrating an early win, but I think it was just bluster. And Matt's like, no, it wasn't. He was sitting on something the Fisks didn't want exposed. And then Heather's like, you do realize they were the ones getting shot at. And he's like, I know. He's like, hey, I know it was them. I just don't know why. He's like, do you remember anything else from that night? And Kristen's like, I remember him saying that he was going to be filing a motion to dismiss. Matt's like, I need to see it. And she's like, well, we can't because it wasn't filed. He's like, then I need to get out of here and find it. And she's like, hey. She's like, just... And then it cuts to Fisk. He's like, you move millions through Red Hook. Now that I'm mayor, we can move billions. Gallo and the police. And then she's like, Luke and the gang. She's like, all of it, architecture. I ran to save the city, but opportunities present themselves. And this, I'm watching this, it kind of like makes me nauseous. It makes me sick. Thinking about like all the stuff that Fisk is doing. It's so disgusting. So Heather tells Matt that he needs to take it easy. And he tells her that, he's not losing it. He's like, however much you think you know Fisk. He's like, you don't. And it's really dangerous. He's like, I'm sorry you don't believe me, but I'm telling you the truth. And it's like, okay, Matt, it's like, can't you tell her a little bit more? Can't you say that, we had this runnings. He did this. He killed this person. There's this. Just give her a little more something. And so, but Heather's like, I think it's better I come back once you've had some rest. So basically she's saying, okay, you just got shot. You just woke up. But I'm going to leave. It's like, okay, whatever. I don't want to hear this. So good luck. You can just rest on your own. So she like kisses his cheek, like barely. Fisk, then he bellows, they're going to go out there and hunt down not only Poindexter, but all vigilantes. There'll be no body cams, no due process, no warrants. And so Powell's just like kind of smiles. Other task force people are in his, they're in like Fisk's office, like, Cole's there, Sheila's there, Daniel, Buck, like all these people. And he's saying all this stuff. Gallo's like, sir, not only does that go against the operating principles of NYPD, it's illegal. I mean, next you'll be condoning the use of lethal force. And Fisk is like, condoning? Absolutely not. Encouraging, Gallo. Encouraging. I want the bridges shut down. I want the tunnels closed. And Sheila's like, sir, a lone gunman attacking the mayor is a massive affront. Of course, I see that. But to seal the city, you need a large-scale, real and present threat to public safety. It's like, oh, boo-hoo, the mayor almost got shot, so you're going to shut down the entire city. He's like, Sheila, your concerns are noted. Now, you all have a job to do. He's like, Buck, one moment. So then when they're along, he's like, please tell me, what's Matt Murdock's condition? So he's like, stable, recovering at Metro General. Murdock saving you does complicate the optic of things somewhat. And Fisk is like, no, quite the opposite. Imagine if our fearless lawyer from Hell's Kitchen were to succumb to his wounds he sustained by trying to save the mayor. In this case, a dead hero is better than a live vigilante. So Kirsten, like, I'm really, really glad that you're going to be okay. I am, but we're going to have a serious conversation on the other side of this, all right? And then back to Fisk, he's looking out the window. I've been giving thought to what you said earlier about threats and public safety. And Sheila's like, I'm so glad, sir. Sometimes our reactions are worse than the offenses that cause them. He's like, Sheila, in business, there's always a tipping point in a negotiation. We are in that place in the city. It just needs a little push. And they'll come to us with open arms. And she's like, and what would that push be? You're a very perceptive woman. I imagine that you know who in my staff is loyal and who is not. People talk to you. And she's like, yeah, you can say that. I've got an ear to the ground here. Good. Send everyone who's not completely on board home. And she's like, yes, sir. On your way out, can you send in our friend from Con Ed? So the power company guys there. Someone walks down to a hospital hallway. They have a gift bag. There's a teddy bear, and there's like a get well soon card. And then at first it's like, wait, who is that? Is that Buck? And it is Buck. So Sheila sees Gallo sitting in the hall, and he's like, he says that they need to talk. And he's like, I mean, you see what's happening, right? I know you do. First, he guts the force, crime spikes, probably due to friends of his, and then, and he like chuckles, he like turns a bunch of rogue cops into his own personal militia, sends them out as a kill squad against the vigilantes, and now he's trying to get his hands on the power switch to the city. And Sheila's like, it sounds like you've got ears in the walls, because that's just what they were talking about. Gallo's like, there are still sane people in the building, and I'm betting that you're one of them. Matt's lying in a hospital bed. Then he listens. He must hear he hears footsteps echoing, so he knows Buck is coming. Gallo says, he's like, I'm going up the ladder. The governor, Supreme Court. This is still the mayor's office, not the kingpin's. And he is still the subject of the law. I'm hoping for your support. Buck's kind of like waits in the hall. Then he sets the teddy bear bag down. Back to Sheila. She's like, when? And Gallo's like, tomorrow. I leave for Albany first thing. And she's like, yeah, well, there's no way I can go with you. But if you need me to put in a word, you got it. And Gallo's like, I appreciate that, Sheila. We'll get through this. The city always does. You watch your back. And she's like, always, you too. Buck pulls a syringe out of the bag. He looks at his watch. He waits. And then, shoom, the power goes off. And it goes off over the entire city. It's like, shoo. So Buck gets ready to make his move. He goes in the room. Matt's not there. His bed is empty. So Matt's actually like walking down the hall. He's in a hospital gown. And Buck, so he must be in a different hall or further down. Buck goes in the hall, kind of looks around. He puts the syringe in his coat pocket. So Matt makes it home, and he smiles when he enters. He just like sits back on the sofa because he's so groggy and painful, pain, whatever, out of it. And he's like, you're pretty much the last person I expected to find here. Who's there? If you saw it spoiled, it's Frank Castle. He was on the episode image thing when you go to Disney Plus. And Frank's like, you're a wall-to-wall a-hole. Power goes out. You got nothing to make a GD pot of coffee in this house. And Matt's like, well, not everyone lives in a fallout shelter, Frank. And then Frank's like, is that a new costume? What do they call you now? Nightgown man? And Matt's like, what about you? Aftershave and a haircut? That all for me? And Frank's like, yeah, I did it for you. And then Matt's like, I thought this wasn't your fight. And Frank's like, yeah, well, I got a phone call that changed my mind. And Matt's like, care to be more specific? He's like, no, I do not. I made a promise. I was going to get you out of here alive. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Northwest side of the house, there's a van full of poop bags. He's like, I tell you right now, they come up here, I'm not playing patty cake with those fanboys. He's like, I'm chopping them up. You understand me? And Matt's like, I'm not sure I want that kind of help, Frank. And Frank's like, well, that's the kind of help you've got. And Matt groans when he tries to sit up. And Frank's like, hey, Red. He's like, yeah? He's like, why would you take a bullet for that a-hole? And Matt's like, that is a good question. But then he listens. So the van with Cole and the others, they drive up. And they're like, we'll surprise them on inspection. It's like, no, move. So there's maybe 8 to 10 people. They enter the building. Matt's like, they're on the move. So Frank's like, you gonna do it with your ass hanging out? Matt holds up his middle finger. I'm pretty sure it was his middle finger. He goes in the other room. So task force approaching the door. They enter, and they have the Punisher bulletproof vests on. It's like with the skull. They're looking around in the dark. They got lights on their rifles or whatever. Daredevil comes crashing through the skylight. It's like, was that necessary? He starts knocking him out with his billy club. Frank shoots one in the head. He comes in like through the balcony. He shoots through the window. Comes in, shoots another one that tries coming at him. Frank slams his face against a table, busts his mouth or his teeth. And Daredevil's like, Frank, stop. But then he shoots a guy a couple times on the floor, and an officer shoots Frank in the shoulder. He gets like shot, but then he shoots back. Daredevil takes out some more, and you can see Matt's like feeling some pain. Frank's like grunting and howling. He's just an animal. He takes he takes two by shooting through the wall. He's like in the kitchen. They're like in a hallway. Just like shoots right through the wall, the drywall, whatever. Then he dives over the kitchen like island, and another stabs him with a knife, like over and over again. And the closed caption is like flesh squelching, officer screaming. And then I think Cole tries shooting, and then Frank's like gonna shoot him, but then Daredevil like throws his billy club. I think he like knocks the gun out of Frank's arm, and then so everyone's taking down but Cole. But I think Cole's hand somehow is pinned up. I don't know if Frank threw a knife at it, like stuck it in the wall or something like that. So everyone seems to be out except for him. And Frank's like, "You good, Red?" And he's like, "Yeah, you." Frank picks up like a bullet shell, and it has a skull on it. Cole is like on the floor with his hand up, and Frank's like, "Hey, we found your guy." He tosses the casing in the Daredevil. And so Daredevil goes up to Cole. Cole picks up his radio. He's like, "Frank Castle's here," but Daredevil like squeezes the radio out of his hand, like tosses it. And I think Frank picks it up at that point. Cole continues groaning. Daredevil he's kind of holding like the billy club against like his cheek and like pressing. He's got the bullet case. At first I thought the bullet casing, he's like pushing it against his head, but it's just like up at his face. He's like, that's yours, huh? Yeah. He's like, "You recognize that? You killed Hector Ayala. He was a good man." And Cole's like, "Do what you got to do. I stood with my own. I can die easy." So Daredevil like stands up. He screams, man, smacks Cole in the face with the billy club. Like blood splatters, and he's out. He's knocked out. He tries catching his breath, and he thinks back to when he won the court case. Hector's like in tears or hugging. He thinks back to like walking with Karen and Foggy, fighting with Poindexter on the rooftop, and then Frank's like, he's like, "Do it, Red." He's like, "Come on, he's right here," and Daredevil's like, "You're not worth it." He's like, he's not worth it. So they stand for a bit. Then Frank raises his gun to shoot Cole. Daredevil jumps forward. He's like, "No, Frank, no." He's like, "Please don't. It's not what I want." And Frank's like, "You get in front of a bullet for this piece of poop too?" He's like, "Is that what you do now, hero?" And Daredevil's like, "He's not worth it." And another officer is groaning. And he's like, "How about him? He worth it? How about that? Huh?" Blam. And he's like, "Oh." And he like shoves Frank. He's like, "What's wrong with you? You can't help yourself, can you?" He like shoves him again. Frank shoves him back. And he's like, "GD, hands off me." He's like, "You're a GD law." And Matt's like, "You're a GD liability every damn time." And Frank's like, "Good for you, blind boy." And then Daredevil's like, "What is wrong with you?" Then he's like, "Shut up." Because they're like arguing. There's a metallic click. He's like, "Grenade." And Frank's like, "Huh?" He's like, "Run, run, run." They head to the balcony. They jump. Daredevil grabs Frank and he like fires off his grapple line. Push! They land like on someone's car. And the explosion up above. And Daredevil's like, "You're an a-hole, Frank." And he's like, "Yeah, I know." So they walk down the street. Then there's a car coming behind them. Like the lights are shining. So they turn slowly. Someone gets out. And it's like, "Wait, aren't you like going to start shooting or anything like that?" But thank goodness they didn't, because it's Karen. So Daredevil sees, quote unquote, sees her and turns to Frank. And she's like, "Come on, get in." And Daredevil, he says, he's like, "Shotgun." And Frank like chuckles. And then he's like, "Don't want to hear your poop." So later, Frank's like sewing up a nasty gash, so he must go to his place. Like he's got this huge like cut on his shoulder, like skin, just gaping wound. He's just like sewing it up. He's like sitting at this like little like desk or table, in front of a mirror, looking. Karen's tending to Matt, and he's like, "How's it look?" And he's like, "Oh, you've been prettier," or something like that. And there's a pause, and then he's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "You call Frank, huh?" And she's like, "Uh-huh." She's like, "I heard Poindexter escape. Called Frank and hopped on a plane." He's like, "You couldn't call me?" And she's like, "I needed someone to look out for you. You definitely wouldn't have liked that." So if Frank gets up from the mirror that he was, sitting in front of it, and so Karen's like, "You okay over there?" And he's like, "Never been better." Then she's like, "Let me take a look." He's like, "Nah." And he's like, swallows some like pain meds, dry. And he's like, "You know something, Karen? Nothing in this world a good cup of coffee can't fix. You want a cup?" And he's like really pushing the coffee. And she's like, "No, thank you." And he's like, how about you, Red? He's like, you want some coffee? And Matt's like, got any oat milk? and Frank like chuckles. I did too when I watched it. He's like, oat milk. Of course, Matt, Daredevil, Matt Murdock would ask for oat milk. It's like, no way on earth Frank Castle would have oat milk. So Karen's like, so he went after Matt Murdock, not Daredevil? That's bold even for Fisk. And Matt's like, listen to me, Karen. Turns out it was a hit on Foggy. And she's like, holy spit. And he's like, Vanessa Fisk hired Poindexter to take him out. And she's like, why? He's like, I think there's something in a motion he was about to file. He was moving to dismiss the case, and Vanessa made sure he never got to it. I think maybe I missed something back then. And she's like, the files have been in storage, as far as I know. And Matt's like, that's right. He's like, will you be my eyes? And she's like, hey, anytime. He's like, let's go. And she's like, you coming, Frank? He's like, got poop to do. And Matt's like, you realize Fisk will be coming for you too. And Frank's like, that right? He's like, I'll tell you what, if he does, I'll put a bullet in his fat head. How about that? He's like, you know something? Inspector Gadget BS, it's not for me. He's like, you guys can show yourself out. I didn't know what that Inspector Gadget comment meant. And then they're about to walk out, and Karen's like, she turns back, she's like, you know what, Frank? I'm not buying it. I don't believe you don't care. And he's like, hey, Karen, you asked me for a favor. I did it. And she's like, yes, you did. Thank you. And they're gone, and he quietly says, stay safe. So, he likes Karen. He's always had a soft spot for her. So a woman, she's like, what the heck's going on? It's the middle of the night. It's like, so I think that the council's meeting, and Daniel's like, you've all had the opportunity to look over Mayor Fisk's Safer Street initiative. And, someone's like, yes, it's insane. And he's like, oh. And they're like, this makes stop and frisk look like daycare. So Daniel writes down, Deputy Speaker, insane. And the guy's like, what are you doing? And he's like, Mayor Fisk is super interested in what the council thinks. And Buck's like, especially those members who aren't in enthusiastic support of his response to the city's crisis. This lady's like, that sounds like an enemies list. And Daniel's like, no, just outreach. Mayor Fisk cares deeply about the city council. Like you, Miss Speaker, he was so impressed with, what was it again? And Buck's like, 540,000 euros stashed in a Swiss bank account. Danny's like, right, real estate investments in Kips Bay, right? That's smart money. We should sit down and share tips sometimes. Matter of fact, Mayor Fisk is very interested in all the council's accomplishments. We would like to set meetings with each and every one of you when the crisis has passed. Our office will reach out to each of you shortly. The mayor will be addressing the city in a couple of hours. He hopes that Safer Streets has your full support. If not, let us know. We'll make arrangements. So that's the other part that's disgusting. They're basically bullying them. They're intimidating them. And like the council should just say, well, screw you. What are you going to do about it? But they know. they know better. So there's a BB report about the riots. You see fires in the crosswalk. This guy says people are boarding up their windows, and doors. People are looting. So we see this guy, he busts a window with like a crowbar. He steals something. I don't know if it was like an amp or something like that. Then a cop's like, freeze. He's like, show me your hands. So the guy drops the thing, gets shot twice. This other task force guy, he's like, Jesus, Bert, he's just a kid. And the other guy's like, no, he's not a kid. It's a masked vigilante. And so he's wearing a beanie. He pulls it down over his face, which, again, this is disgusting. So this officer, he just wanted to shoot this guy. He's looting. Oh, my goodness. He's like, yeah, that's not okay. But to shoot someone for that? Matt says that he can't believe that they didn't check on the storage. And Karen's like, don't beat yourself up. Then he's like, do you talk to Frank a lot? And she just like chuckles and smiles. And he's like, what? And she's like, you sound like you're jealous. He's like, back at his place, I heard your heartbeats. And she's like, God, that is really not fair. She's like, then she's like, you heard his too? He's like, oh yeah. And she's like, it's the adrenaline, I'm sure. And then she's like, you hear mine when I saw you? And he's like, yeah. She's like, yeah? He's like, adrenaline, I'm sure. So they like reminisce a little bit, and he's like, I'm glad you're back. So then she finally finds the right box. So she finds a motion Foggy filed, and she's like, Foggy was going to argue that, whoa, She reads, due to the unique nature of the Red Hook port location, no crime was committed in New York State or even in the United States of America. Therefore, the court has no jurisdiction to prosecute. And Matt's like, what? And she's like, wait, here's a photocopy. Red Hook Charter 1855. And she's like, holy crap, it's a free port. And Matt's like, exempt from the jurisdiction of the city and the country for that matter? And she's like, what would that have to do with the Fisks? And Matt's like, well, Vanessa has used a port to store art for years now. I mean, if it's a free port, she's doing it without customs, without taxation, without fear of seizures. And Karen's like, she could launder money legally. And Matt's like, right. And now our mayor is building a new complex there. This charter would make it untouchable. Gambling, smuggling, you name it, all of it legal. She's like, God, Foggy had no idea what he stumbled into. He thought it was a truck robbery. And Matt's like, no, this is about the Fisks building their own city-state. Like, let's go see what they're hiding. So there's chaos in the street. Radio asks for like a status report. Another says that, eyes on Murdoch, or no eyes on Murdoch and the blonde. Daredevil and Punisher got away. This first officer's like, fall back to Red Hook. And they're like, let's go hunting. So Frank is listening because he grabbed that radio. So he puts down his coffee cup, grabs like a big like shotgun. A task force truck drives by, and you see like an officer like standing guard, and then Frank comes up behind him, like jabs the knife into his neck, blood squelching again. Then he walks up to some, and you hear them. There's a bunch of officers they're like, what if he's actually here? Holy spit! It's a Punisher. It's Castle, and someone puts like a gun up to the back of his head. He elbows him, grabs a gun, and puts it on him. So now he gets behind him. He's holding him with the gun up to him. An officer says, he's like, non-lethals only. And the second one's like, don't shoot. And the first one tells Frank to calm down. And then he shoots. They have like shields, like riot shields. So he goes up to him. He's like, he gets shot in the chest. But I guess they're non-lethal, maybe, hopefully, still. And then he starts like grunting and shooting and attacking. It's pretty brutal. And it's like little narrow like kind of walkway thing. Like because he grabs the shield, he like shoots over their shields. He's like getting up close. Like there's one lady, I think she has like a sword or something like that. He like grabs it from her and like uses it on them, and like throws it at someone, and then he gets shot in the back, and then again. And they grab his arms, he gets kneed to the face, then they hit him in the face with like the butt of their rifle or whatever. He goes down, and then just like beating on him. So it's like, holy crap, if they're like so kill crazy, they're gonna kill him. It's like, man, they bring the Punisher back just to kill him. It's like, what? How's he gonna survive this? There's a recording of Gallo saying he's going up the ladder, governor, state Supreme Court, still the mayor's office, not the kingpins, and he's still subject to law. So Fisk is listening to this. And he's like, so it's like it's him talking to Sheila. I'm hoping for your support. And she's like, when? He's like, tomorrow I'm leaving for Albany first thing. So it's like, how's he listening to all this? Sheila recorded it. And you see her, she's like in tears. I don't know if she's in the room or outside, but she's in tears because she betrayed Gallo. And she's like scared. She's a coward, but what can she do? And that's a sucky thing. But she's not doing the right thing. She ratted him out. So Gallo gets in the back of his car. He's like, hey, Mario. He's like, just take me home. And the guy's like, Mario got sick. Gallo's like, wait, Luke? He's like, I haven't seen you in a long time. And at first, it's so dark, you can't see anything. At first, I'm like, Luke? I thought it was Luke Cage. Because it's no offense, it's a black guy, bald guy. But it's not as big as Luke. I guess I think he would have been much bigger in the car, but we haven't seen him in a while. So I was like, are they bringing him back? They brought back, Frank Castle. They're talking about bringing back maybe Jessica Jones and Defenders. It's not Luke Cage. Some other guy named Luke. So he's like, I haven't seen you in a long time. He's like, not since you were a rookie, huh? And the guy's like, yeah, long time ago. And then this is how you definitely know it's him. He's like, that's fresh ink, huh? You see it on his neck, like behind his ear, there's a skull tattoo. So he's like, you part of the task force? And then he's like, the mayor recruited me, just trying to survive. And Gal's like, yeah, I know. And so like the car, the SUV, whatever, starts up. So it's like, they got him. So at Red Hook, Frank is like zip tied to a chair, like his hands are tied to the arms. He's bloody. He's bruised up. Powell's like sitting in front of him. He's got, the vest, the bulletproof vest with the skull in his chest. Behind him are at least 10 others with skulls. So Powell's like, "It's an honor to meet you, Castle. I'm a big admirer of your work." He's like, "And I lost a lot of guys because of you today. And I'm hoping that this is fudging worth it." He's like, "Listen, Frank, everything that you do, you can do that with us. And you don't got to run anymore." He's like, "These guys fudging idolize you, man. We all do." He's like, "It'd be an honor to serve with you, Frank." And Frank's just sitting there, he's just sitting, listening. He's all, again, bloodied and bruised. His like face all puffed up. And Gallo's like, "You'll never get away with this. I'm still the GD commissioner." And Buck's like, "New York is standing with Mayor Fisk. It's made its choice. We're just honoring it." Gallo's like, "Oh, you're out of your GD mind." So Fisk finishes talking to some people. I think the council's there. So I don't know where they're at, but they're like, it's the huge tarps everywhere. It's like something like under construction. I don't know. I mean, maybe they're all at Red Hook. So Gallo says to him, he's like, "There are easier ways to see me, Mayor Fisk." And he's like, "Not me. They see you. But you were never really there for the rank and file, were you? The men and women on the front line." So there's like task force people there. "The men and women on the front line, risking their lives to keep New York safe, keep you safe." It's like, I wonder, can we blame the commissioner? I mean, after all, he's just a cog in a broken machine. Cut back to Frank. He's looking at the task force. "You admire me, huh?" Powell's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Out of your fudging mind. You know that? You're a bunch of clowns. You know that?" It's like, "Frank, no, you can't insult them." He's like, "You fudging clowns admire me? You think you know my pain? You think you know my loss?" Back to Gallo. He's like, "Yeah, I was right. You never stop being kingpin." He's like, "You can't." And then Fisk starts at him. He's going towards him. And Frank's like, "You admire me?" He's like, "What do you know about me? How I see the world. You know how I see the world?" And then Fisk like goes behind. This is the thing. He elbows Gallo in the throat, but it's basically a sucker punch because he's just standing there. All of a sudden, whoosh, he hits him right in the throat, and he's like groaning and choking. He goes behind him, and he brings his fist down on his shoulders. It doesn't seem like he hit him that hard, but he kind of goes down a little bit. He grabs his collar, like by the back of his jacket, whatever, is like holding him up. Back to Frank, he's like, "It's just a circus, bunch of clowns. I ain't gonna serve with you. I wouldn't fudge and piss on you if you were on fire. You got that?" And Powell's like, "I'm sorry to hear that, Frank." He's like, "Are you?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What's that? What about you? You sorry?" And the guy punches him in the face. And he's like, "Ugh." He's like, "Not so bad." Fisk starts to squeeze the sides of Gallo's head. "We will keep this city safe." And there's like bones cracking, I guess. And everyone's like standing, like the council's there, they're standing there watching, like Buck's there, like they're all there. Frank's like, there's blood coming out of his mouth. "I'm still here." And he's like panting. And the officer punches him again. Both Gallo, I guess bones are still cracking. And Fisk's like, "We will not let anyone threaten our homes." And his head sort of caves in. Or like this kind of skin comes out, like the top of his head, and he must like crushed. I guess he crushed his skull, and is like his busted to the side. His jaw's like going the opposite way, to the side. And some people are clearly bothered by this, and some people are just looking down, and they're not trying to react or say anything. But it's like they're all accomplices. All these people, all these who are too scared to stand up to the kingpin. And yeah, he will murder you, but everything he's doing is illegal. He should be arrested on the spot. So they're just sitting there watching. They watched him murder Gallo. And they let him. They did not say anything. They all killed him. And his jaw is just like hanging. It's like so nasty. So Fisk lets him like fall to the ground. He's got bloody hands. And he just dabs the sweat on his face. "Any questions?" So how can they not see that he is so utterly and deeply disturbed? And no one says anything. He's like, good. And I could be wrong, but it even seemed like Buck was a little unsettled. He's like, could that be? Buck doesn't seem like he has like super high morals. He's killed people. He killed He killed that guy. What was it? That came after Fisk in the restaurant, and but it's almost seemed like he was a little like didn't like that. Matt and Karen sneak up to like Red Hook. Karen's like it says it's crawling with the task force. Matt groans in pain. Then he tells her that he's going in and for her to stay out of sight. And she's like, no. It's like, it'll be Josie's all over it again. She's like, if you go in there, you'll die or you will kill. She's like, now you're hurt. She's like, you will not survive. Is that what you want? It's like, look, Fisk has the courts. He's got the cops. He's got an army. So now you can go down there or you can fight him. You'll probably die, but you can't beat him. Not like this. You have to be smart. She's like, I'm right. And I think it was Matt that said he feels lost and angry and helpless, the whole city or something like that. But then Karen's like, you remember I once asked you what it was like living in the darkness? She's like, do you remember what you said? And Matt's like, it's not dark. It's like 1,000 suns. And she's like, yep. And then he's like, after a pause, he's like, yeah, you're right. He's like, but we can beat him. I'm going to take the city back, Karen. And she's like, where do we start? He's like, we need an army. So do you need an army? Like, who are they going to get? Can't get Spider-Man. So then it's like daytime suddenly. It's like, wait, what? And then the power goes back on. So you see like different shots over the city. Heather goes to see Fisk. And she asks, she's like, are you all right, sir? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. You? And then, she was or whatever. Then he's like, Dr. Glenn, I'm going to change the city. I'm going to turn it into a place that we're proud to live in, but I need help. I would like you to be my administration's commissioner of mental health. And it's like, is that such a thing? Or is he just, because like when he said, Daniel, you're deputy mayor of communications, is that okay, maybe that's a role, but like commissioner of mental health, maybe? So he asked her, and then she's like, it would be my honor, Mayor Fisk. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you have essentially broken up with Matt Murdock. You know how he despises Fisk. He's saying all this stuff. I mean, she just thinks that he's just deluded, that he's crazy. So she's like, all right, it's done. I can't be with this guy. Never mind, like, I'm going to try. Yeah, you've been distant, Matt, whatever. Why don't you try helping him? Isn't that what you do? And it's not your job to help your boyfriend, but if you're willing to help people, don't you have the means to try to help someone that you supposedly are in love with? So they shake, and I don't know if there was like a photo taken, because it seemed like there was a flash, and he kind of smiles. She sucks. Heather sucks. Go away, Heather. There's a BB report. There's different shots of the streets. And then like Fisk is about to do a live broadcast. He's standing at his desk, sort of like leaning forward. I don't know if he's wearing a white suit or if it's cream. He's got kind of like a tan tie. So he's just standing there kind of like leaning forward. Good morning. We survived. Together. It's like, shut up. Piece of crap. You're so crazy deluded. As you may know, there was an attempt on my life by a vigilante last night. And that's the thing. Okay, Poindexter, is he a vigilante? He was an agent. He kills. He's not a vigilante. That's so stupid. In the act of sabotage, our city's power grid was disrupted. No, it wasn't. You talked to the guy, asked him to turn the power off. It's so stupid. While facing rampant lawlessness, Commissioner Gallo, he chose to resign, which is a lie, to turn his back on the people of New York. The thin blue line has broken. I will not allow you to live in fear, though. But, okay, he says that Gallo quit. No, he's dead. You crushed his head. No one's going to question, wait, he quit. Where did he go? He never made it home. He doesn't even care. I mean, have they already like disposed of his body? So he's not going to allow them to live in fear. I am enacting my Safer Streets initiative, effective immediately. All vigilante activity is illegal and will be dealt with accordingly. Curfew is at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. So if you own a restaurant, yeah, you're done. You're at 8. What does that mean if you close at 8? How do you get home if it's after curfew? I don't know. He's like, and in the immediate future, New York City is under martial law. It's like, now, with the rule of law restored, we can go back to our pursuit of life and liberty. happiness together in the finest city of the world. And again, we look at Buck. I feel like he's a little bothered by this. Sheila tries like keeping herself together. Daniel, surprisingly, he doesn't have a stupid grin on his face. So maybe he's finally saying, we've created an even bigger monster. And then it's so hard to watch. Fisk is like, never forget, I love New York. It's like, shut up. Then we see like Matt as a kid, he's kind of like staring out a window, and adult Matt's like talking. He's like, when I was a kid, after the accident, I thought God had taken my sight. When I grew up, I came to believe that in exchange, he'd given me a special destiny, like a mask and a purpose could save my life. And Karen's like, didn't it? He's like, no, it wasn't the mask. It wasn't me needing to believe in it that saved me. My mistake was thinking I was immune to the darkness, and I let it creep inside me. I let the dark power me. I threw Poindexter off that rooftop. And he's like, Karen, I wanted to kill him. The truth is, ever since Foggy died, I didn't know who I was anymore. And she's like, Foggy believed in you. Whatever you want to call yourself, whatever's behind the mask, behind your eyes, that's wrath and that's mercy. That's the dark and the light. He knew all of it. All of it. He knew you. I do too. And then Radiohead's Everything in Its Right Place starts playing. So she kisses his forehead. She gets up. He puts on his helmet. She opens the door. So they're in the back of Josie's bar. And there's like a few people in there. Like Cherry's there. Angie's there. And, those people, they don't look too happy to see him. And I'm not really sure. Cherry's like, probably like, Matt, what are you doing? Angie, she doesn't know, but she doesn't care there's a vigilante there? I mean, she's good, but so then I don't know if he's saying or if he's narrating or if it's if it's right there at that moment. But he's like, I can't see my people, but I can feel it. And we see Fisk and Vanessa, they walk in a room with cages. I think there's the council members who oppose him. I'm assuming they're like locked up in there. Matt continues, he's like, the system isn't working. It's rotten, corrupt. In the last cage, Frank's there, and he's like chained. So Fisk and Vanessa sit to eat. I think the art that she bought before, like the white with kind of like a splash of red, is like hanging there. And he smiles like a stupid kid because he's getting everything he wants. He just sucks so much. Buck is like, he's kind of like glaring out the window. He like holsters a gun because again, I just feel like he's just so uneasy with all this. Daniel's sitting like an office chair. Sheila still looks concerned and worried, even though she's not doing anything. She could have done some stuff. There's shots of BB also because hopefully Gallo sent her files on all those officers to take down the task force. Matt says, he's like, but this is our city, not his, and we can take it back together. So I'm hoping he's talking to all the people in the bar. I think he is. So there's lots of shots of citizens around, whatever. Like you see that cop who didn't like that the kid got shot, that was looting. And we see Angela Ayala, and there's like some cops behind her. She just kind of looks over her shoulder, whatever. Matt's like, the weak, the strong. There's like a shot of Heather in her office at the bookshelf. Christian's looking at like the Red Hook charter, and Matt's like, all of us. Poindexter's like, I don't know where he's at. It's like some busted apartment, whatever. And so he's like, all of us. He's like, resist. And there's a shot of Frank, rebel. And back to Josie's, rebuild. Because we are the city without fear. And then the final shot is from the street, and you can see like inside Josie's through like because the windows are covered with like newspaper since the Foggy got shot, but there's like a hole in newspaper, so you can see inside, and you can see Daredevil like standing in there, and then that's it. But there's a mid-credit scene. Back to the cages. Frank says an officer is kind of like walking around. He's like, "How's it going? What did they call you?" He's like, "Anthony." "Anthony? You got a last name?" He's like, "Anthony Petruccio." He's like, "There you go, Anthony Petruccio." He's like, "It's a good name. It's strong. Where are you from, Anthony Petruccio?" And he like kind of uses a chain to pull himself up to his feet. So that the officer, he's like, "Jersey." "Ah, Jersey," he chuckles. He's like, I thought so. So then he like sits on a stool. He's like, "I had a feeling, And Anthony's like, you too, yeah? He's like, that's right. You know a little about me, Anthony? He's like, a little bit, yeah. And he's like, a little bit, right? And he chuckles. He's like, oh boy, I appreciate you. You gave me a minute like this. It's an honor to meet you. And he puts his hand through like the food tray thing, like shake his hand. They shake. Thank you, Anthony. Twists his arm, bones crack. Anthony groans. He pulls his arm forward like twice, like bangs him against the cage, and then bends the arm down. Fade to black. So, I mean, does Anthony have keys on him? It would be smart not to give him keys, but I think Frank's going to make his escape. And then at the end, it's like, Daredevil will return in season 2. And that's the end. So it's like, oh my goodness. It's Fisk is just a piece of crap. And we need to get rid of him. Matt needs to get rid of him. So that is, that was the end. That was crazy. And yeah, so there you go. That is Daredevil. That has been Daredevil. Now we got to wait about a year. All right, so now back to Black Mirror. So last week I did 706. I did the last episode of the season because it was the USS Callister episode. So I was like, let's just go to episode 1, 701. So 701, Common People. This was, holy crap. This was a really good episode. It's like classic Black Mirror, and it gets kind of dark. It just keeps getting worse. And I mean, like all, majority episodes, there's like a message here, and it gets crazy. So it starts off, we see this couple, it's Rashida Jones and Chris O'Dowd, which both of them are great. So they're laying in bed, they're like really into each other, like, they're sleeping, cuddling each other and all that stuff like that. The alarm goes off, and so it's their anniversary. So, or it's almost their anniversary. It's going to be their anniversary or something like that. So she's a teacher at an elementary school. She's teaching about pollination, and she explains like stuff about these like mechanical AIBs or something. Because I think there's something with it. I don't know if it's in a later episode or a past episode. And one student like sticks around after class, and because she said another student made fun of her shoes because they can't afford new ones, and these were sisters, but then the other kid said her shoes were old, and the man is like, no, it's like they're not old, they're vintage, which means they tell their own story. That is cool. And she's like, okay, I guess so. This other teacher, her co-teacher or fellow teacher, wants to take her out for drinks because it's Friday. And she's like, I can't, because her husband, Mike, he's waiting outside to take her away for the weekend. So they're going back to where they got married. So they arrive at this old cottage. They have dinner. There's like this dude and lady, they're like singing in the restaurant. And they're talking about how nothing's really changed. They eat these burgers, and just how you remember them, all this stuff like that. They go in the room. They're in bed. They do their thing. And then after, she's like, that wasn't an official try, but to have a kid. She's like, but I wouldn't mind having a happy accident. So they want to have kids, but they weren't planned. It wasn't like a planned session, but they try to do that. And then commented on some stuff, and then she says she's got a headache or something like that, and he's like, another headache. They go back home, or later or whatever, next day or whatever. She's staring at this crib in like the spare room, or there's just like kind of stuff in there. So she talks about how it was a bargain, she couldn't pass it up, and she's like, maybe it was bad luck, maybe it is, maybe she should put it up on eBay, get a few bucks. He's like, no, whatever. So Mike works. He's like a welder, like some. I don't even know what you would call like the docks or something like that. There's all this construction. Like the foreman says that this one guy, Shane, I think his name was, that he's supposed to be on a rig. He's taking too long from his break. Is this young guy? He's in like the break room watching like some TV show on a computer. It's called Dumb Dummies, and he explains to Mike that desperate people go on, and the audience pays them to do like some dark poop, and he like shows the screen as this guy's going to drink his own urine once they reach $20. And Mike's like, oh, don't watch that on a work computer. And he's like, you're good at your job. He's like, I just want to see you do it. Amanda is teaching again, and then she starts getting dizzy and she faints. So Mike gets called. Hospital's been trying to call him. He rushes to the hospital. She's out. She's in a coma. They're like, there's no simple solution due to where it's located and how long it's been growing. So she's got a tumor. They're like, it's essentially fused to her parietal lobe. And he's just kind of zoning out. Then he's like, is she going to be okay? And the doc's like, I'm sorry. He's like, her prognosis isn't good. He's like, what does that mean? And she's like, she may never regain consciousness. And he's like, there must be something we can do. And the doctor's like, well, even a few months ago, I would have said no. But now there may be an option. It's a new startup. It's like they have an experimental procedure. It's new and risky. She's like, I can't make a personal recommendation, but she's like, the rep comes in. She's like, do you want me to call the rep? He's like, yeah. So the rep arrives. Her name is Gaynor. She's from Rivermind. And she said, Rivermind is a revolution in neurological science. How it works is both high-tech and incredibly simple. She's like, we take an imprint of the affected part of her neural structure and we clone it onto our mainframe. So basically, we just make a backup of part of her brain onto our computer. Then we remove the tumor and the surrounding tissue. And Mike interrupts. He's like, is it dangerous? And Gaynor's like, well, normally, yeah, but we made a backup, remember? Then we replace what we remove with synthetic receiver tissue. Then the Rivermind system transmit cognitive function from the backup on the cloud-based server, allowing her to live her life. And Mike's like, okay, does it work? Honestly, has this even been tested? And she's like, yes, it has. I'm living proof. And she's like, do you want me to show you? So 18 months ago, she was in a terrible accident. She had knocked her head that technically killed her. So she was lucky to be one of the first Riverminders. And she's like, otherwise I wouldn't be here. But then he's like, I'm sorry. It's like, I don't know how else to say this. Like, are you, and she's like, normal? He's like, yes. And she's like, yeah. So basically what's going to happen with Amanda, she would sleep more nights, 1 or 2 more hours. It's one way that they help the demand on their servers. So she has to physically stay within the coverage range. So it's kind of like cell service, but they're new and they're ready. They have most of the state covered. And then next year they're going to roll out nationwide and then worldwide. So then Mike's like, how much is it going to cost? And she's like, it's less than you think. And Mike's like, is it less than we have? And she's like, well, we're really trying to drive uptake, so our pricing is really reasonable. She's like, and the surgery is free. And he's like, yeah? And then she's like, for the streaming, we run it a subscription model. It's $300 a month. So they're streaming in for her brain to her, which is crazy. So $300 a month. So she gets the surgery, she does fine. And then he gets to see her. She's, she was gone a couple days and she can go home next week. On the way home, she's like, she's happy to be alive, but she's like, but $300 a month? And he's like, yeah, he'll take extra shifts and stuff like that. He's like, we cut back on her trip to Galway, and she's like, oh, to see your dad? And he's like, no. He's like, that's fine, but Rivermind won't roll out in Ireland for a couple years, so she can't go there. So it kind of goes from there, and I don't want to spoil the rest of the episode, but it starts getting worse and worse. Like at one point, I'm trying to think. She starts getting, it's like, I'm trying to remember like which way it happened first. It's like their anniversaries must be like the next year or whatever. And they start going back to the place, and he's tired from all his shifts and stuff like that, but they're fine. And then they're kind of like almost like bickering or anything like that, because he's working his butt off, and and she's like, oh, and I can't do anything. So I'm just a teacher. He's like, I didn't say that and stuff like that. They're arguing, and then she's just out, or she's almost like she's glitching or something like that. And so basically, it's like, wait, are they out of cell range? Did he check? He pulls over. He does this U-turn. He's going to take her to the hospital, and all of a sudden she wakes up, and she's like, why are you driving so fast? So they go to Rivermind, they talk to Gaynor, and they're like, oh, no, there's no malfunction. But Mike's like, she passed out. She's like, I thought she was dead. And Gaynor is like, well, that's because you passed outside the coverage area. But man's like, I thought you checked the map. He's like, I did. It was within range. And Gaynor cuts him off. She's like, It's like, what happened was we're upgrading some of our towers, and the ones in Palmer County are on a new bandwidth, which is part of an exciting change to Rivermind service. From Monday, we are introducing Rivermind Plus, a new subscription tier that has extended coverage. So it makes great use of these upgraded towers. That so if you upgrade, you can absolutely travel, whatever. And Amanda's like, and if we don't, Gaynor's like, well, you just stay within your existing coverage range. And so then Amanda's like, so you're saying that we have to upgrade to Plus if we want to leave the county? And she's like, right, yeah. And Mike's like, that's not what you said when we signed up. You said it was just going to roll out everywhere. And Gaynor's like, yes, it is with Rivermind Plus. It's like, that's what this is. This is the rollout. So then Mike's like, how much is a plus? And she's like, so it's $500 a month on top of the existing package. So $800 in total. Man is like, we can't afford that. And Ginner's like, it's fine. You just stay on Rivermind Common and you'll be able to continue the service. So it goes like that. And then what happens later, then she starts getting ads. She starts like randomly saying stuff. Like there's one kid who was upset about some stuff, and she just starts spouting off like, well, you can get some, support. Just call 1-800-ChristianLife.com or some like weird thing like that. And she ends up getting in trouble. Like the mom gets pissed because she recommended like Christian counseling to her kid and stuff like that. And there's like other stuff, and she doesn't even realize she's doing it. And then it's like there's gonna be a new and it's just, it gets worse and worse. So basically, it's like a message on like subscription models and stuff like that, which is kind of funny how, Netflix has increased their costs, and like, oh, you want HD, you got to pay more, and all this, and it just gets worse and worse. And then there's another thing, and then it's like, so basically, if she wants to get rid of the ads, she has to go to Plus. She can't, that's just part of it's included, and there's like no control over it. And like at school, she's told that because like her principal or something like that is talking to her in the middle of it, she's like, she gives an ad for like a over 50s dating thing, and she's like, I'm 49, and she's like, and what are you talking about? So basically it's like, if she does that, she's going to lose her job, and if she loses her job, they can't afford the pay to 300 or 500 or whatever, and it just gets worse and worse, and it's like they're trapped because it's, her brain stuff's on a server. If they can't cancel it because then she's dead, and it gets, more stuff happens, and it's just like, oh my gosh. So this was a crazy episode, and like I said, it was just it's kind of dark, and it's just, whew. So that was, I don't want to spoil the rest. I mean, you definitely should watch it, but it's like, oh my goodness, it's just, it sucks. And that's the thing is, there's nothing you can do, their hands are tied, and it's just like, oh man. So that was a Black Mirror 701. You should definitely check that out. Next week, maybe, we'll continue. We'll see how things go. But that was something. All right, now the movie feature is Sinners. So Ryan Coogler directed this. He wrote and directed it. And it stars Michael B. Jordan. Actually, somehow I missed the fact that he was twins. Even though I saw the trailer, maybe I didn't really fully, I don't think I only watched the trailer once. Because there was one scene where the guy's like, you two brothers? And he's like, nah, we're cousins. But they're obviously twin brothers. They had to totally look alike. Hailee Steinfeld's in it. And so I'll just say, it is a good movie. It is very well done. It takes place in 1932. And I'm always kind of in awe with how they do this, and it's similar to, what was it, Tears of the Sun, Moon, whatever flower, was it Martin Scorsese movie with Leonardo DiCaprio? I didn't love that movie, but when I look at these like period films, they do this movie magic where it looks like, from what I could tell, what I would know, that it's in that period. So this movie, it's 1932, and just everything, the locations, the fact that you can find places to film and create, and without any signs of any modern technology, and maybe stuff is like CG'd out, like, oh no, a plane's flying overhead, or there's a telephone, we need to erase that, and I'm sure maybe there's some of that stuff. But I'm always in awe when they can just take us back to that point. So what's interesting, a lot of the way I've seen, they're talking about the Jim Crow era. So with this movie, there's almost like different layers, different aspects to it. So you really get a feel for just the way, the environment, just the way society was. And on some levels, there is like the key, the element of the racism, the blatant racism, and because with the Michael B. Jordan, him, Smoke and Stack, or that's their names. So they were veterans. They fought, I think it was 1932, World War I. they came across some money, and they buy this building. I think it was like a mill or something like that, and they buy it from the landowner is like a racist dude, and I don't know if they say anything in the beginning, but anyway, so he's a racist guy. So you can see like the way like he calls him boy or something like that, and he's like, I ain't your boy type of thing, and they're like, no, that's just the way we talk around here, because it's like Mississippi Delta area, whatever, outside of Chicago or something, and so you get just that disgusting, icky, gross feeling of racism that's going on there. So, you have to deal with that. And basically what the brothers want to do, they want to build a juke joint for like the black community there. Because their cousin is a guitarist, he's a really good guitarist. His dad's actually a preacher. I just say that because you see him in the beginning and it cuts back to the day before. And which is crazy, like all this happens in one day. And so, you want to build this club and stuff, and there's other aspects to it, and they want to do something for themselves and their community, and so we have all this, like you see how they go about doing things and arranging things, and they got to get this lady, this lady's a singer, and get the rest of the band and set things up, and so you get a lot of that. But if you saw the trailer, I mean. They build this as like there's darker forces out there. They're basically it's a vampire movie as well. So that's the weird thing, is it's not really billed as that. I don't think there's ever been any mention in any of the advertisements and stuff like that. But that's essentially what happens. I mean, you can pretty much tell it's some sort of like vampire type, something, creatures of the night type of thing that's going to be popping up, and that's where it takes us like different elements. So it's weird, So again, Ryan Coogler, very respectful, whatever, filmmaker, and he's making like a vampire movie, but it's more than that. And because again, you got the whole just the history and just the politics and whatever you want to call it, and then and you see them and just. The acting it just feels so real. Just all the energy and just the excitement and all this stuff like that. And with one of the brothers, his like ex-girlfriend is Hailee Steinfeld, and she's mad that he left, and he's like, well, a black man, people would frown upon a black man marrying a white woman, but I think she was like an eighth black, so she's part black, but she looks white. Obviously, she looks like Hailee Steinfeld, so there's that aspect. That's what brings her into the movie, and but then there's this like Irish vampire dude who is just evil, and so that's gonna make their way towards the juke joint, the club, and then things are going to get worse from there, and basically that's kind of it. There's obviously more elements and everything like that, but just the way the movie's told, and just I don't know how to describe it, because this is a thing. And when before the movie came out, like a week. I think it was like a week before, early reviews. I think there's like maybe 40 reviews, and it was at 100% of Rotten Tomato. And I was like, wow, really? 100%? That's crazy. Right now, if we jump over to that, it's at a 98% from the critics. So 98% from critics, 97% from the popcorn meter. So that's pretty crazy. Now, here's the thing. I enjoyed the movie, but I mean, when it was at 100%, like, I don't know, when I think it's like 100%, like it's a perfect movie. And while, I mean, yes, it's got great acting, it's great cinematography, great locations, great costuming, great sound editing, great music, like all this stuff. But I mean, my crappy summary of the movie, you look, there's a couple extra stuff, and that really, I guess that doesn't really do it proper justice, but I mean, I don't know. And so here's the thing, like, am I going to watch this movie again anytime soon? I don't know. I mean, since I didn't watch it with the family, if they wanted to watch it, I would definitely watch it again. But I'm probably not going to seek out and watch it myself. a good test, like how much I like a movie, is am I going to buy it on, physical media? Am I going to buy a 4K disc of it? I don't think I would necessarily buy this because, it was fine, but I'm not like, oh man, I want to watch that again. I don't, and again, kind of going back to other things, like when I talked about Honor or whatever, these other movies. So I'm always like, is there something wrong with me that, all these movies that are nominated for Academy? I mean, am I just like uncivilized where I can't appreciate like fine art or whatever? Like I said, it's a good movie. I mean, it was very compelling, and even like when, like I said, I thought it was really cool how we get almost, it feels like different movies kind of like really cut well together. It's not like jarring, like doing like different genres. I mean, it just kind of flows into it. So it's kind of cool how you can do these different elements and just put it all together and make this overall movie with that. And how it just goes from one vibe to the next. And I mean, it's pretty impressive. It's like I said, it's a really well done movie, well done, well acted, well written. I mean, I don't know. So I don't know. Is it just me? But before you even know it, I mean, Michael B. Jordan is such an amazing actor. I mean, there's something about it. He just oozes this coolness. So it's like, I almost feel like he doesn't really have to try. It's not like he's putting on a front to try to be cool. That's just how he is. And so it's like when he acts, is he really acting, or is he just like being himself and just reading his lines and doing? I'm not trying to insult him, but I mean, he's just like so cool. And so like he's going to give a great performance. He always does. And I'm a big Hailee Steinfeld fan, and she's good, and just it does get crazy, and I mean, I don't know. Now the more I'm kind of thinking, like maybe I'm kind of liking it more than I thought. As I think about the different parts, I mean, it's so well done and so well acted, and but I don't. I mean, maybe I don't know. Am I missing something? It's like, is it just not super deep? It doesn't have to be, but again, to be 100%, I don't know. What am I getting at? What do I know? So, like I said, it's a 98% by, let's see how many, 216 reviews. Let's see. So, it's not just that Coogler dares to do something different with Sinners. It's that he lets it all rustle, sweat, and bleed together. So, I mean, I don't know if there's anything really different, but yeah, I like how things are put together. If Sinners is messy, it's sometimes pretty glorious too. Coogler swinging wide and far beyond the boundaries of a franchise fare. All right. Sinners had me cheering for every thrill and spill, all the while mulling the deeper concerns threaded through it. Okay. Coogler is an in-your-face filmmaker whose boldness and singular voice mesh beautifully with Jordan's acting style, making them one of the great actor-director teams in history. Sinners is exhilarating, bold, electrifying, tense, sexy, and unforgettable. Sinners earns his indulgences. Coogler has crafted sexy, sweaty, mainstream studio work that fiercely addresses generational trauma, racial hatred, cultural appropriation, and fierce defiance. Yeah, so yeah, there's all that. I mean, it's pretty crazy, and in a good way, but yeah. So, new twist on a horror movie. I don't know about that. I will say that there is a mid-credits. There's a long mid-credit scene, so make sure you stay for that. And there is an end credit scene. End credit scenes, it's okay. End credit scene's not crucial. Mid credit, you should definitely stay for. So, which I usually talk about, the movie had a $90 to $100 million budget. So according to, what did I see? According to Variety, Sinners needs to gross $185 million to break even. Given the film's $90 million budget in the United States and Canada, it's projected to gross $40 to $50 million its opening weekend. And so far, I think it made $4.7 million on Thursday night. and it's also like IMAX. I think it was like filmed in IMAX, or IMAX or something like that. So you should see it. And yeah, I'm always going to say this like majority of the time, but yeah, I do feel like you should see it on the big screen because it's just to appreciate everything made. So you should definitely see it. It's crazy. And but the only thing that bothered me a little bit is there's some scenes with Michael B. Jordan and Michael B. Jordan. Like there's a part where they're like sharing like a cigarette or something like that. And so like, one brother will take a hit, hold it out, and it almost like overly holds it, and then the other brother grabs it from his fingers. And so I mean, it's impressive that you can do that, that you can have the interaction. And I think there's a part where they're sitting side by side in a car. So obviously they're CGing it or whatever, melding and movie magic. But the cigarette part kind of took me out a little bit. But other than that, I mean, you should definitely watch it. It's really good. So that is going to be it. So go watch Sinners. It's definitely worth seeing. And again, it's great when we have something new that is not a franchise or a sequel or a remake. Not that I don't like those, but this is something different. So you should definitely check it out. And as always, thank you for checking out the Random Podcast from Heck. And thank you to Andrew Loken for being such a great, loyal, and awesome supporter. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the Secret Podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30 minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. I've been doing a lot of John Byrne Fantastic Four, getting ready for the movie coming out, right? That's my excuse. No, I just really enjoy this era, and I just want to revisit it. I might be doing some classic movie coverage. We'll see if I get to that in time, or the off my mind topics, and who knows whatever. If there's something you want more of that doesn't fit into this regular podcast, that is the place where I would more than happily discuss other things. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or two. That's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. So what is going to be next week? I don't think there's any other shows coming out. Let's see. So we are April 18th. Yeah, so the movie, let's just talk about the movie. The movie feature is going to be Until Dawn. So I'm glad I was able to see that my theater is having. I played some of the video game. I never finished it because time, but I'm really curious. Check out the trailer. It's they're obviously sort of factoring the gameplay element, but like they're adding a twist where basically people are dying and then the day's being reset, and it's like, what does that mean? Because in the game, obviously there's like different deaths, and then you could start over. So I think that's neat that they're adding a twist on the idea to somehow incorporate that without making it overly obvious. So I'm curious to see how it's going to play out in that. And then we'll have more Doctor Who. Then Last of Us. Probably another Black Mirror. We'll see. I should do. And so it's not just Doctor Who and Last of Us, but we'll see. We'll see how things go. There is a show on Apple, a John Hamm show. I don't know if it's really if there's much to talk about for the podcast. And I think right now there's 3 episodes out because I think they dropped 2 last week. So there might be 3 or almost 4 episodes. I do want to watch that, but I think it's too late for that. And again, I don't know if it's worth discussing or if it would make sense to discuss. I don't know. But I hope you are doing well. I hope you are taking care of yourself. I hope you're finding time to do fun, cool, and exciting things. And I hope you remember to be good to each other.